Chapter 1799. Bai Zhang Tian patted his forehead heavily and said as soon as his voice fell, "Humph, but you have lost the qualification for the second round. Seriously injured, you are trash." Bai Zhang Tian shook his long sword coldly, and a silver sword flower appeared in the darkness. After the silver flash, Bai Zhang Tian's extremely cold face was highlighted in the vast strong wind. "Stop talking nonsense, come at me together." Su Yi helplessly spread out his hands and made a beckoning gesture to Bai Zhang Tian. Crazy! The four people rushed up at the same time and suddenly drew four fierce yuan qi lights in the air. In the void, green, white, and gold lights intertwined together. The two hooks and the long sword were linked together. The surging yuan qi revealed an extremely majestic attack storm in the dark cave and smashed on Su Yi's body. Bang! 3 deep gullies were formed in an instant. When the gravel was shattered and the dust was flying, Su Yi flapped his wings and broke through the space. In terms of attack, there was no more useful agility martial skill than Fuyao 100 transformation step. The fiery red aura lingering on his body trembled in an instant. In the next second, Su Yi rushed out of the battle like a ghost. What? The four of them felt their hair stand on end. Their eyes widened as they stared at the empty ground in front of them. Before they could turn their heads, a strong shock wave came from behind like a tide. Su Yi's hands were hidden in his sleeves and pushed across the air. His eyes flashed a trace of coldness and he roared in a low voice, "Fire sky gathering palm." Bang! Su Yi sneered. The tip of his foot lightly touched the void. His hand seals changed and a huge illusory fiery red palm energy violently swept toward them. What? Bai Zhang Tian and the Gemini sex people were startled, and with a loud roar, they quickly turned around. In the void, the fierce blazing energy was evaded by more than half. The tail of the flame palm swept on the backs of the four people. 4 loud thuds were heard. Bai Zhang Tian looked up at the sky and spat out a mouthful of blood as the surrounding space was torn into shreds by the flames. The first-level Origin Emperor Realm disciple beside him had already fainted. Only the second and fourth-level Origin Emperors were left standing on the ground with difficulty. Standing on top of the boulder, Hu Na was also shocked and frightened, muttering in a low voice, "How can this little brat erupt with such energy? Could it be that his ability to kill those above his level is so strong?" Su Yi, who had concealed his cultivation level perfectly, had always been at the second level of the Origin Emperor realm. Su Yi scratched the back of his head, his eyes full of contempt and laziness. He muttered in a low voice, "I forgot that the damage is reduced in here. Su Yi, don't be so arrogant." Bai Zhang Tian was even more embarrassed when he saw that he was beaten so badly by Su Yi, who was at the second level of the Origin Emperor realm. As soon as he finished his words, a green defensive halo flashed around Bai Zhang Tian's body. The surrounding space rippled like an arc and instantly spread out. The long sword in his hand formed a sword screen in front of him. The green sword light was extremely sharp and oppressive, causing the air to hum. This move has the meaning of skipping levels. At this moment, the corner of Su Yi's mouth rose into a sneer. He used the blood demon slaying god sword in his hand and a fierce murderous aura suddenly filled the entire cave. Before the two of them could react, Su Yi's blood demon slaying god sword tore a long red scar in the air. It heavily smashed on the green halo, causing the halo to cave in a huge arc and burst out a terrifying shockwave. The lightning-fast momentum suddenly threw the disciple of the Gemini sect, who was at the second level of the Origin Emperor realm, into the sky and smashed a shocking deep hole in the ground. He was unconscious. Bai Zhang Tian's face turned pale with fright at the sight of Yi Mo's devastating attack. The yuan qi that had been gushing out of his body instantly collapsed like a river. He could only watch his protective shield turn into countless green light beams and scatter in all directions. Bang! Bai Zhang Tian's eyes were slightly sluggish. He kept shaking his head and said firmly, "Impossible, impossible." Sui looked at Bai Zhang Tian, who was covered in blood, and said coldly, "This world is not something that a person who has lost his soul like you can understand. Die." Purely relying on the heavy pressure of the blood demon slaying god sword, Sui swung it down from the sky. It brought along an oppressive wind and ruthlessly smashed towards Bai Zhang Tian's head. Dong! The surging murderous aura filled the void. A loud and clear sound of metal clashing resounded. The moment the blood demon slaying god's sword hit Bai Zhang Tian, the blood pattern flashed strangely. In the next moment, a monstrous pressure spread throughout the cave. Countless cracks like a spider web appeared. Bai Zhang Tian's entire body was smashed into the ground. In the bottomless pit there was a deathly silence. Huff! Just one level up and I feel that my mastery of fire attribute martial arts has reached a new level. Sui was overjoyed. Huff! Behind him, there was a sound of wind breaking. A huge boulder came crashing down like a ferocious beast with a low roar. With a wave of his hand, the blood demon slaying god's sword cut the boulder in half. Through the flying debris, one could see a ray of light madly rushing towards the entrance of the cave. Suyi's mouth flashed a cold smile. With a light shout, he turned into a stream of light and blocked in front of Hu Na. Suyi's eyes were gloomy as he rested the giant's sword on his shoulder. He smiled and said, "Didn't you come looking for me?" Hu Na's expression changed. He stopped his body. Under Suyi's boundless pressure, his soul began to tremble slightly. "Sui, you actually hid your strength. This time I admit defeat," Hu Na said coldly as his eyes flashed with the help of his double cleavage. Sui, however, shook his head. A strong wave of energy came from the tip of the sword again, as he said in a deep voice, "I have a principle. Those who kill me must be killed." Hu Na was shocked. The corner of his eyes twitched crazily. He had just experienced Su Yi's ruthless means. At most, he could fight a 6th-level Origin Emperor to a draw. If that's the case, then there's nothing more to say. Die. Hu Na's eyes darkened as he sneered. A golden protective halo appeared in front of his chest, and his rapidly retreating figure turned around. Then, a powerful green waterfall came crushing down from his palm. The 6th-level Origin Emperor Hu Na was as fast as lightning. He sneered as he launched his attack. "I'm afraid you'll never know the strength of a 6th-level Origin Emperor." A light flashed across Su Yi's eyes. Then, a faint cold arc appeared in his eyes, and a strong killing intent filled the air. "Let me show you what it means to kill above your level." With a light shout, the blood demon slaying god in Su Yi's right hand suddenly formed a strange arc and blocked the green light. One. Chapter 1800. The radiance of blood and fire once again filled the entire space. The cultivation of a 5th-level Origin Emperor surged out like a huge wave. In an instant, the sword radiance shot out with unstoppable force and landed on Hu Na's head. In midair, there was a muffled explosion that could overturn mountains and rivers, causing the space to tremble violently. A terrifyingly hot energy spread out rapidly. In an instant, the space also cracked. Countless spatial ripples spread out. The 100-meter-long fire pattern collided with Hu Na's protective golden ring, causing him to fall to the ground and his aura to dissipate. Blood and debris rained down, burying him in the ruins. It was a tragic sight. You actually, 5th level." He could no longer speak a complete sentence. His mouth was filled with blood, and his eyes were filled with shock and fear. It was imaginable how terrifying Su Yi's fire attribute energy was to be able to injure a martial artist comparable to the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm to such an extent in the space where the damage was reduced. "Why are you looking for me?" Su Yi asked coldly, pointing the tip of his sword at Hu Na. Hu Na's sunken chest trembled violently as he stuttered, "If I tell you, will you spare me?" The blood demon slaying god's sword pierced through Hu Na's chest, and the heavy sword edge quickly cut through his hair. Do you think you have the right to bargain with me? Hu Na's throat rolled, and a trace of fluctuation flashed in the depths of his eyes. He gritted his teeth and said hatefully, "It's the demon-subduing sect who asked us to work together. They wanted us to find you and snatch the treasure chest from you." Su-Yi immediately understood why the Immortal Sword sect and Gemini sect had squeezed him out when he was queuing up. The Immortal Sword sect and the demon-subduing sect are also working together. Hu Na's body froze, and his dilated eyes trembled as he remained silent. "Why are you helping them?" "They said that if we help them find the treasure chest in the first round, they will give each of us 3 9th-level Demon Emperor demon cores for free." Su-Yi chuckled as he stabbed the blood demon slaying god's sword into the ground. He rubbed his face with his palm, which was slightly red. "Looks like the demon-subduing sect is really going all out." While Su-Yi was thinking, Hu Na, who was lying on the ground, secretly reached his hand into his chest, his eyes flashing. "Su-Yi, can you let me go?" Thinking about it, Su-Yi raised his chin high. An undetectable killing intent leaked out from the corner of his eyes as he said coldly, "I can spare your life." Suddenly, Na's hand relaxed for a moment. His expression changed as he said, "Thank you, bang." There was a sharp sound of air exploding, and suddenly Na's lower abdomen was like gas flowing out. 2 streams of golden and yellow gas rushed out of his body and lingered in the air like gossamer. "Ah! Su-Yi, I will kill you! I'll kill you! The Gemini sect will not let you off." Su-Yi raised his head and rotated his wrist. He smiled and said, "I'm afraid you'll never have such a chance." The rules here were that the damage dealt was reduced, and one could be teleported out after death. However, there was no mention of recovering one's lost cultivation. Hu Na had become a complete cripple. While groaning in pain, Hu Na used his left hand to cover the yuan qi that was dispersing from his lower abdomen. His right hand slowly reached into his chest, and a medicine bottle was smashed on the ground. The light purple demonic qi instantly turned into energy and rushed into the depths of the cave. Instantly, the demonic qi filled the air. Su-Yi's expression changed drastically. He screamed in his heart. Behind him, Hu Na's entire body was like a shattered speck of light that was gradually rising into the sky. "Su-Yi, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. I'll tear you to pieces. Rumble!" Instantly, the entire cave seemed to have cracked open. Rocks were constantly smashing into the ground. The shocking crater was like the surface of a planet. An extremely terrifying aura was emitted from the cracks in the rock. It was like the ferocious energy of a king of the demonic beasts was gushing out. The faint demonic qi was like a monstrous fire that spread across the sky. The surrounding space was instantly shattered. "Su-Yi." Hearing Bai Ling's call, Su-Yi took a step back, bent his knees slightly, and shot in front of Bai Ling like an arrow. The demon-suppressing seal of the demon-subduing sect has been lifted. The demonic emperor experts are coming out. Then, let's hurry and leave. Bai Ling's weak little face was drained of blood. She weakly grabbed onto Su-Yi's sleeve. Su-Yi shook his head. He quickly took out a Xian-grade pill and fed it to Bai Ling. The warm fire attribute energy in his hand quickly protected Bai Ling's mind. In an instant there were explosions all around. Countless pairs of eyes that were like willow, the wisps stared coldly at Bai Ling. "Bai Ling, let's go." At this moment, Su-Yi pulled the sober Bai Ling up like a bolt of lightning. Using himself as an axis, he borrowed the force of the rotation. With a cold gaze, he threw Bai Ling out with extreme precision. Her body flowed in the whirling wind like a leaf. Her eyes were misty. Crystal tears slid down her fingertips and fell on her slender arms. Bai Ling's eyes suddenly turned black. The perfect force allowed her to land steadily at the entrance of the cave. Su-Yi stood tall and straight in the distance. A bright smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Wait for me outside obediently. Protect yourself well." Bai Ling crossed her arms in front of her chest and kept shaking her head. The tip of her nose was already slightly red. She shouted loudly, "Sui!" As soon as her voice fell, a huge rock quickly collapsed from the upper part of the cave and firmly sealed the entrance of the cave. "Sui! Come out! Come out!" The weeping Bai Ling knocked hard on the impenetrable stone wall. Large drops of crystal-clear tears flowed down her cheeks. She pursed her lips tightly, and dark red blood seeped out. At this moment, the people of Taixing's sect had mostly recovered. They quickly came behind Bai Ling. Looking at Bai Ling's dazed and helpless appearance, they were all terrified. "What are you waiting for? Save Sui!" Bai Ling's gaze was cold. Her delicate body trembled as she shouted angrily. After regaining their senses, everyone instantly condensed their primordial qi. A few majestic energy waves spread out from their palms. Following the spread of this wave, the air between heaven and earth rippled. "Miss Bai Ling, this won't do. There's demonic aura in this rock layer. We can't break through it at all." A few Taixing sect disciples looked helpless. Because of the rebound force, their palms were already dripping with blood. There was not a single place that was intact. Bai Ling's delicate body suddenly stood up. She wiped her tears and said sternly, "I believe in Sui. Let's go out." Where are we going?" Bai Ling's delicate body suddenly released an extremely terrifying murderous aura. "Kill the photovoltaic demon sect. Kill the immortal sword sect. If there's one, kill one. If there's a pair, kill a pair. Just the few of us." Chapter 1801. After cursing, Bai Ling's gaze became extremely sharp. Then, with the sound of wind tearing through the air, Bai Ling quickly rushed out of the cave, leaving the stunned crowd behind. Rumble! Inside the cave, the walls were filled with the faint glow of crystals. With the help of the light, Sui could see hundreds of pairs of eyes filled with killing intent in the darkness, like the candlelight of a soul-summoning candle. Without the demon-suppressing restriction of the demon-subduing sect, all the little barbaric demon beasts inside have escaped. Sui exclaimed in a low voice. His gaze was solemn, and the surrounding demonic aura instantly turned the entire cave into an extremely thick and heavy balloon. It firmly locked Sui within. If he was an ordinary martial artist, he would have long been unable to free himself and his soul would have collapsed. However, after secretly circulating the Origin Supreme technique, Sui was like a fish in the sea, extremely uncomfortable. "Kid, your technique is a little strange. It seems like you have an innate ability to control the barbaric demon beast." Hidden inside Sui's body, the iron soulfish could see the circulation route of Sui's technique with its own eyes. With its powerful soul perception, the iron soulfish could clearly sense that there was a group of extremely terrifying barbaric demon beasts crawling in the dark. Roar! A faint smell of blood drifted in the air. Pairs of bright and fierce eyes were filled with anger as they stared at Sui. The sound of palms moving on the ground was like sandpaper, extremely sharp and ear-piercing. The unpleasant sound waves made Sui frown slightly. These barbaric demon beasts even know how to use sound waves to attack the human soul. Interesting. Placing the blood demon killing god sword in front of him, Sui's long robes fluttered in the wind as a tyrannical aura emanated from him. Sui raised his eyebrows, and the light in his eyes instantly became extremely sharp. His entire body was surrounded by a milky white divine light. From the center of his palms, mysterious and ever-changing hand seals were formed. His hands gathered at his lower abdomen, and a fiery aura quickly rose along his meridians to his chest. Roar! The voice of an old flood dragon rushed out from Sui's mouth, and a fierce gust of wind blew the surrounding sand and stones into the air. The boulder that had just fallen was directly flipped over and smashed into the stone wall, turning into fine powder that filled the sky. Buzz! The flood dragon's sound wave attack hit the blade of the blood devil killing god sword. The extremely thick blade kept trembling, and the sound waves spread throughout the entire cave. Behind Su-yi, the gigantic white flood dragon god raised its head and roared into the sky. A mystical white light instantly illuminated the entire cave, making it as bright as day. Hundreds of snowspot phantom leopards were dizzy from the impact of the sound wave. They lay on the ground, in the corners, on the stones, and everywhere else. Its long fangs grinded against the ground. Demonic chi circulated on its snow-white body, gathering into a tornado-like storm. It was extremely terrifying. The sheer number of snowspot phantom leopards made Su-yi's scalp go numb. Hundreds of snowspot phantom leopards at the Demon Void Realm, together with a potential 7th-tier Demon Emperor Realm expert of the Demon Clan. Su-yi started to frown. Boom! Su-yi pulled the heavy sword with both hands and took a deep breath. The mighty aura of the Origin Supreme technique intimidated the hundreds of barbaric demonic beasts and forced them to retreat. The snowspot phantom leopards were like a beast tide with boundless killing intent in their eyes. Suddenly, with a loud roar, hundreds of phantom leopards stomped heavily on the ground. Roar! Looking from afar, it was like a plague of locusts that covered the sky and earth. Demonic chi surged from the surroundings, and sharp claws like hooks pounced towards Su-yi. All of you, go to hell! Seeing all this, Su-yi's heart palpitated, but he quickly calmed down. The blood devil-killing god sword in his hand danced like a gust of wind, and the demon god battle armor activated. Demonic chi revolved around it. Bang bang bang! Wherever the heavy sword swept past, dozens of phantom leopards were instantly shot to the sides like heavy cannonballs. Waves of blood chi rushed into Su-yi's mind. With the god-killing god sword in his hand, Su-yi was like a young god of slaughter. Terrifying blood chi erupted from the sword, and blood-red runes filled the air. Su-yi's right hand seemed to be attracted by the blood devil-killing god sword, and the heavy sword began a bloody massacre on its own. In just a short while, the surrounding space began to crumble inch by inch, bringing with it numerous pitch-black spatial cracks, causing one's heart to palpitate. This little fellow is bloodthirsty. The Iron Soulfish's lips curled up slightly as he watched Su-yi's god-killing god sword absorb all the demonic beast's blood. The dark runes on the sword became even more resplendent. Su-yi tried his best to control the blood chi in his heart and said, "It doesn't seem to be listening to my orders. The blood sword fruit has already allowed the god-killing god sword to regain its intelligence. Bloodthirsty should be the essence of this heavy sword's spirit. Perhaps it will completely recover after it absorbs enough blood. I wonder what's hidden in it." The Iron Soulfish watched with interest as the god-killing god sword happily slaughtered the demonic beast. Kacha, kacha! The blood devil-killing god sword was incomparably agile. As if it was cutting melons and vegetables, the demonic illusionary realm demonic beasts were knocked to the ground one by one. Finally, it left Su-yi's palm and sliced open the phantom leopard's stomachs. It took out the demonic cores and swept them towards Su-yi. While he was puzzled, Su-yi couldn't contain his excitement. He quickly picked up a spatial bag and stored it in it. "Good sword. You know how to be filial to your master. I didn't bring you to drink in vain." Su-yi weighed the demonic core in his hand. The surface of the blood-stained demonic core exuded a majestic demonic chi as he nodded. "What a pity. There should have been a lot of points. I can't refine the demonic cores to earn points." Su-yi gritted his teeth as he thought of the broken bag given to him by the demon subduing sect. Su-yi unconsciously tightened his grip on the demonic cores and said in a low voice, "Then I'll snatch all these demonic cores and raise my cultivation." "Then what about the points?" the Iron Soulfish asked. Su-yi laughed loudly. A fierce look flashed across his handsome face as he said, "Won't the points come after I kill a few demon-subduing sect disciples?" Su-yi took out the demonic pill pouch in his hand and infused his soul energy into it. He found that his points had reached 280. Killing people is indeed the fastest. I'll be there soon, don't be anxious. Su Yi's lips curled upwards. Roar. A beastly roar that was even louder than the roars of all the phantom leopards came from the depths of the cave. After completing the tribute of the last demonic core, the god-slaying sword quickly flew back to Su Yi and stabbed into the ground again, forming a terrifying crack. The body of the sword trembled and flickered. It was obvious that it had lost its previous momentum of being able to kill anything that stood in its way. Why are you so cowardly? Su Yi couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. The god-slaying sword had obviously sensed the aura of an expert and couldn't resist it for the time being, so it quickly flew back to Su Yi's side. Su Yi gripped the hilt with both hands. The god-slaying sword quickly calmed down as if it had a spirit of its own. Blood chi once again lit up the cave. Chapter 1802. When the blood demon killing god sword returned to his hand, it stopped trembling. Su Yi squinted his eyes through the lingering blood traces. Looking at the figure coming from afar, a vigorous roar could be heard. The small phantom leopards in the corner that had yet to pounce over all prostrated themselves on the ground, their eyes filled with reverence. Despicable human! I want you to pay with your life. A mighty aura exploded from the expert's body, instantly shattering the stone walls of the mountain path. The air was shattered, and the surging demonic aura rose hundreds of meters high. Su Yi frowned, picked up the blood demon killing god sword, and rested it on his shoulder. The 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm? Su Yi wondered. Looking at the cultivation of the 8th level Demon Emperor, Su Yi's heart sank. Why is there another level? He unconsciously tightened his grip on the blood demon killing god sword, and secretly circulated the Origin Supreme technique. The phantom leopard expert was puzzled, and his trembling eyes were filled with fear. With the dim light of the origin stones, Su Yi could see clearly that the expert in front of him was wearing a snow-white short robe. Above the sculpted eyebrows there were 2 fierce leopard eyes. Did you seal my movements while I was cultivating? The phantom leopard expert looked sideways at the shredded corpses of the small barbarian demonic beasts on the ground, and his anger began to burn. Su Yi shook his head, but Huana was already dead. Even if he said it, the phantom leopard expert wouldn't listen to him. A 5th level Origin Emperor realm cultivator can actually kill so many of my barbarian demonic beasts in an instant. You are enough for me to make a move. The phantom leopard's eyes flashed with radiance as he spoke ruthlessly. Demonic aura spread all over his body, and a terrifying explosion was about to happen. The muscles all over his body were crackling, and they were colliding wave after wave. Su Yi's heart was filled with helplessness. He said in a low voice, I didn't seal you, but these corpses here all died because of me. Humans run amok in the Great Demon Mountain Range. Do you want to enter that place so badly? The more he spoke, the more agitated the phantom leopard expert became. His face became extremely cold, and a huge demonic aura gathered around him. He spread out his hands and gradually gathered a huge leopard energy. I will leave you with a complete corpse. Go and apologize to my descendants. The phantom leopard revealed his sharp teeth, and his eyes were ferocious as he raised his head arrogantly. Do you think you have the qualifications? Su Yi's Origin Supreme technique once again. And suppressed phantom leopard's aura. Phantom leopard's eyes. And indifferent. Su Yi's calm demeanor made the phantom leopard a little wary. It clasped its hands behind its back and sized Su Yi up. In an instant, the phantom leopard's eyes flickered. It stomped heavily on the ground with the tip of its foot and disappeared. Su! Roar! The huge leopard opened its mouth like a black hole. It instantly pressed the air, and the cave became dark. At the same time, Su Yi waved the blood demon killing god sword in his hand, and a long blood mark wrapped in lightning spread out. 2 astonishing auras collided in the air, and the surrounding air cracked inch by inch with the sound of energy intersecting. Bang! Under the powerful aura, Su Yi's figure was knocked back a few meters, and the expert opposite him also staggered a step. Looking at Su Yi, who stood still, the expert's eyes were filled with a strange light. What a fierce physical strength! You really have some ability, the phantom leopard muttered. Once again, the expert transformed into a huge leopard. His limbs stepped on the ground heavily, and he suddenly turned into a white thunderbolt and rushed over, directly shaking the surrounding air into countless ripples. Lightning flashed along the way, and the violent fluctuations pierced the air into a few dazzling lights. Oh no, this leopard wants to end the battle quickly. Su Yi immediately felt a chill in the bottom of his heart. Su Yi, whose face was slightly solemn, once again split into 4 figures and surrounded the huge leopard, forming an encirclement. Even if you are in the 8th tier, I will still kill you. Su Yi shouted coldly, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He roared, "Blood Phoenix splits the sky." The blood demon killing god's sword seemed to have sensed it. The moment the phoenix flames rose, the blood marks flashed across the sky. In the intertwining of blood and fire, the overwhelming power of the divine beast tore the entire space into tiny pieces. The terrifying blood-red light sword directly bombarded the body of the phantom leopard. Bang! The snow spot phantom leopard's figure turned into an afterimage, and when it wanted to stop its body and quickly escape, its pupils shrank. His pupils constricted. Within the space, he had already sensed an absolutely vicious danger. Su Yi, who was in the 4 directions, used the blood phoenix splits the sky at the same time. Wherever the blood-red stripe passed, the space crackled. The sudden bloody storm in the cave instantly peeled off countless primordial stone crystals from the walls, and huge gullies appeared on the ground along the way. Then, after the collision, the huge leopard disappeared. In the space of blood and fire, there seemed to be an invisible force controlling the space. Su Yi seized the opportunity, stamped his foot in the void, and rushed to the front of the phantom leopard. The long robe in his hand shook, and the heavy sword hit the body of the phantom leopard hard. Bang! The heavy sword was so heavy that even an expert in the 8th tier of the demon royal realm could not bear it. The heavy sword in his hand kept shaking, and the blood on the corner of the expert's mouth seemed to have found its source and gathered at the tip of the sword. Stop! What are you doing? The phantom leopard's face grew paler and paler, and its body kept trembling. Looking at the phantom leopard, who was like a swamp, and whose blood was crazily rushing to the heavy sword, Su Yi sneered in a low voice. Answer my question or bleed to death. It's your choice. Don't even think about it. I'm an Emperor Realm expert. How can I be threatened by you? Clenching its teeth, the blood on its body was gathering at a speed visible to the naked eye. The demonic blood runes in the pitch-black cave emitted a murderous aura. It was as if there was a bloodthirsty monarch living inside. As more blood flowed out, the aura of the phantom leopard started to weaken. Stop it! Abominable humans! Do you humans want to exterminate our demon clan? Su Yi was puzzled. He moved the heavy sword away as if it was angry. Red light shimmered, and he laughed bitterly, and stabbed the tip of the heavy sword into the ground. What are you talking about? Su Yi activated the Origin Supreme technique, and a demonic aura instantly enveloped the phantom leopard's body. You're not from the demon-subduing sect? The expert clutched his chest, and his eyes were filled with fear. Su Yi, who was close to him, had the aura of a demon venerable, like a supreme king who suppressed everything in the world. Su Yi shook his head, and a cold light flashed at the corner of his mouth. He said, "Of course not." At this moment, the expert's face was extremely pale. In the dim space, his eyes were burning. The phantom leopard asked again with certainty, "You're not here for the demonic illusion cave?" Hearing that, Su Yi shook his head like a rattledrum. He withdrew his aura and spoke in a gentle voice. "If you can tell me the truth, I'll spare your life." Chapter 1803. After a moment of silence, the snow-spot phantom leopard wiped the blood from the corner of its mouth and leaned against the wall behind it. Ever since the demon-subduing sect was founded, they have killed too many of us. The entire Great Demon Mountain Range is soaked in their blood. After saying that, the phantom leopard's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and its anger was released along with its demonic chi. Fortunately, there are dozens of moving illusory secret realms in the Great Demon Mountain Range, and the Demon Cave is the most dangerous of them all. Legend has it that there are countless demonic cores in the Demon Cave, and there are also countless cultivation techniques, martial skills, weapons, and armor stolen from the demon-subduing sect and humans. Su-Yi nodded and subconsciously reached into the mysterious chest in his arms as he murmured. This chest seems to have been obtained by the ancestors of the demon-subduing sect in a dangerous place. Could it be this demon cave? Thinking that this chest was really valuable, and that the demon-subduing sect was willing to exchange a demonic core of a ninth-layer demon emperor for it, his heart tightened. Then, the phantom leopard continued, for so many years, the demon-subduing sect has been attacking the Great Demon Mountain Range regularly and slaughtering our demon race. Are you not here for the Demon Cave this time? Su-Yi nodded. The Demon Cave was in the heart of the Great Demon Mountain Range, and there would be countless demon race experts guarding it. The demon-subduing sect must be borrowing the hands of the Heavenly Wind ranking to eliminate these demon race experts so that they could enter the Demon Cave smoothly. Thinking of this, the Iron Soulfish chuckled softly. The demon-subduing sect is not very capable, but they came up with such a good idea. Maybe it's the Brahma Dragon Celestial Palace's idea. Even if the demon-subduing sect gets it, they don't have the ability to protect it. It's all empty talk. Su-Yi stared at the pale-faced phantom leopard and whispered, "Do you know the exact location of the demon cave?" After a moment of silence, the phantom leopard's eyes flickered and said coldly, "Tell you, what benefits do I get? You killed my Snowspot clan, how should we settle this blood debt?" Su-Yi couldn't help but laugh. He raised his heavy sword again, and the fierce wind caused the phantom leopard's pupils shrank. "This is your only choice, just like when I was attacked by your clansmen, I could only resist. There is no reason to speak of." The phantom leopard continued to straighten its neck. Su-Yi knew that he could only tempt a ruler with benefit. Immediately, Su-Yi took out a small medicine bottle from his bosom. The mouth of the bottle was filled with a pale white spiritual energy. The ferocious energy was extremely terrifying. At a glance, one could tell that the effect of consuming the medicine inside would be amazing. This small bottle of spiritual liquid can definitely help you break through to the demon ancestor realm. Do you want to be the king of this mountain, or do you want to enter the hinterlands and become an expert? When it saw the medicinal bottle in Su-Yi's hand, the illusion leopard's eyes flickered, and it could not help but open its mouth and gulp. After thinking for a while, the phantom leopard finally gave up. His eyes dimmed as he said, "I have a map of the hinterland to exchange with you." Su-Yi snapped his fingers. He believed that under such circumstances, the phantom leopard would not be stupid enough to use fake information to exchange with him. After receiving the map from the phantom leopard, Su-Yi looked at the phantom leopard, who loved the spiritual liquid so much that it was unwilling to part with it. "Do you know how many people have already entered the hinterlands?" The phantom leopard's eyes shone brightly, and it said excitedly, "According to the information, 4 or 5 groups of people have already entered. But no matter how many of you go, it will be useless. With those old fogies guarding it, you will all die inside." In an instant, Su-Yi's eyes darkened. According to this, the upper reaches and the demon-slaying sect must have already entered the hinterlands. There was no time to lose. Su-Yi's smile gradually disappeared, and his pure eyes looked around the cave. "Brother Leopard, send me out." Seeing that Su-Yi was ignoring its words and insisting on entering, the phantom leopard shook its head helplessly. "Kid, don't blame me for not warning you. There are countless dangers inside. Other than the great demon, there might be other strange things. You have to be careful. Su-yi stretched his arms and put away the heavy sword, indicating for the phantom leopard to stop nagging. Purring! Su-yi rubbed his face with his palm, looked up at the starry sky, and lightly tapped the ground with the tip of his foot, then shot up into the sky. Breathing in the fresh air outside, Su-yi, who was floating high in the air, closed his eyes and flapped his wings, enjoying the joy and comfort of nature. Looking at the shadow in the sky that was getting smaller and smaller, the phantom leopard tried its best to calm its heavy breathing, and its eyes trembled. Who the hell is this guy? Why is he going into the demonic fantasy cave with such a treasure? The iron soulfish also asked Su-yi the same question. Kid, you really want to go to the demonic fantasy cave? Of course. Moreover, the upper reaches are all there. Who knows, many of the middle reaches factions might have followed. I have to think of a way to get some points. Seeing that he only had 280 points, Su-yi couldn't help but feel anxious. Moreover, since the demon-subduing sect valued this treasure chest so much, it must have something to do with the demonic fantasy cave. He had to go to the demonic fantasy cave. Opening the map given by the phantom leopard, Su-yi could see that there were dozens of marked locations in the hinterland. Among them, there were 3 locations in the southeast, northwest, and east that had the word demon written on it. Su-yi nodded slightly in his mind. Looking at the markings on the map under the moonlight, he thought to himself, these must be the places where the demonic fantasy cave often appears. Thinking about it, it was strange. He had heard that treasures could run, but why would the demonic fantasy cave run? Exclaiming in a low voice, Su-yi looked at the other marked locations in the hinterland. Some of them were emitting a faint light, and the drawings of demonic beasts on them were overflowing with bloody light. Suddenly, Su-yi's lips curled into a faint smile, and his bright eyes glowed. It's time to collect the debt. Su-yi stretched lazily. Boom! Borrowing the force, he tapped lightly on a cliff and flapped his wings wildly, drawing a long trail of flames in the air. Like a phantom, he flew into the depths of the hinterland. The hinterland of the great demon tribe was filled with demonic chi that was much stronger than the central and outer regions. Terrifying energy filled the valleys in the forest. It seemed that there was a strong demonic chi left in the river. 8 or 9 disciples in golden robes stepped on the rapid river. Looking around, they saw a valley-like place in front of them. Strange flowers and herbs grew in the valley, and many spiritual herbs unknown to the outside world. However, this was no longer the place that this group of people wanted to go. The leader was the tall Yuchi Changfeng. His points had already reached 930. After refining 2 demonic Emperor Realm demonic cores, Yuchi Changfeng's eyes were filled with vigor. The aura of the 8th level Origin Emperor Realm was more stable, and his domineering majesty shocked everyone present. It is said that there is a big secret place in the hinterland called the Demonic Fantasy Cave. Why haven't we found it yet? Chapter 1804. The Sky Dragon Sect and the Divine Tiger Sect are also searching for the Demonic Illusion Cave. We can't fall behind. Lu Ruashi narrowed her eyes. Her sage monarch aura filled the night sky, making her look like a holy fairy. The man in the lead was Yuchi Changfeng. He frowned and waved his sleeves. Thinking about dominating the sea and Shangguan Shenjua's faces, Yuchi Changfeng said in a low voice, "Let's expand our search. Leave this place to me and Lu Ruashi. You guys search elsewhere. Inform us immediately if anything happens." Xiahong Lu and Lu Ruashi's expressions changed. Lu Ruashi's fair face burned with anger as she spoke in a low voice. "I can do it alone." Lu Ruashi avoided Yuchi Changfeng's gaze and spat out a mouthful of cold air. "Why don't I stay behind to accompany you?" Xiahong Lu asked indifferently. Xiahong Lu's cold expression trembled slightly. He looked at Lu Ruashi silently and heard Yuchi Changfeng sneer. "Xiahong Lu, leave. Didn't you hear Lu Ruoxi say that one person is enough? Xiahong Lu ignored Yuchi Changfeng and said in a low voice, Can you really do it? Don't try to be brave. Lu Ruoxi nodded heavily. Her gaze landed on the cave entrance in the distance and said, The energy here isn't very strong. I'll go in alone to take a look. Come out quickly. It won't be too big of a problem. After a pause, Xiahong Lu sighed and whispered to Lu Ruoxi in an extremely soft voice. The hinterland is filled with danger. I have to take good care of you on behalf of that fellow. Lu Ruoxi's heart trembled when she looked at Xiahong Lu's handsome face. She pursed her lips slightly. She naturally knew who Xiahong Lu was talking about. Xiahong Lu, do I need you to take care of Lu Ruoxi for me? You're just the fifth saint. Don't give orders here. Xiahong Lu sneered without even turning his head. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Yuan Qi rose from his feet. He took a deep look at Lu Ruoxi before he turned into a golden streak and charged into the distance. Before he left behind a sentence. Inform me directly if anything happens. He then stuffed a voice transmission jade into Lu Ruoxi's hand. The saints and saintesses looked from Yuchi Changfeng to Lu Ruoxi and spoke sourly. Since he's so powerful, let's go somewhere else. Soon, only Yuchi Changfeng and Lu Ruoxi were left. First Holy Son, are you still not leaving? Lu Ruoxi said coldly. To her, Yuchi Changfeng was simply trash. His eyes were filled with fear as he subconsciously circulated his saint ruler qi. If there's danger. Remember. In the next second, Lu Ruoxi finally let out a long sigh after seeing that Yuchi Changfeng was already far away. She used her soul perception to confirm that Yuchi Changfeng had really left. A cold glint flashed in her eyes as she said coldly, Shameless. Void. S. Yuchi Chi S. In another cave, several disciples of the Immortal Sword sect had already fallen to the ground. Beside them was the corpse of a LV-5 Demon Emperor Realm demonic beast. The experts from the Boundless sect and the Taxing sect had gathered. Bai Ling held her sword and stabbed it into the chest of one of the Immortal Sword sect's disciples. Blood filled the air. The narrow cave was filled with a rotten aura. She shook her wrist and threw herself into Han Yuro's arms. Then, she burst into tears. Sister Yuro, Su Yi is buried in the Phantom Leopard's cave. I can't save him. That's a LV-7 Demon Emperor. Bai Ling cried again. Han Yuro's eyes were red. She patted Bai Ling's back gently and comforted her. Don't worry. Su Yi won't be hurt so easily. The experts from the Boundless sect were shocked. They didn't expect the Taxing sect to be wiped out in a day. Su Yi, who shocked the world in the test, was killed by the Demon Clan experts? They lost the qualification for the second round? Where is he? Bring me there. We must bring Su Yi out. Han Yuro's tone was firm, her eyes filled with determination. Miss, we haven't found the Phantom Demon Cave yet. The people from the Boundless sect said. Su Yi has formed an alliance with the Taxing sect. We don't have to risk our lives. Yes, Mississippi. The Phantom Demon Cave is a place that even the demon-subduing sect wants to go. Don't lose sight of the big picture. Everyone was worried. They tried to persuade the two of them to find the Phantom Demon Cave quickly. You guys go ahead. Bai Ling and I will find it ourselves. She turned around. Just as she was about to walk out of the cave, she saw a green figure flying out of the cave. Everyone was shocked. Han Yuro and Bai Ling's expressions changed at the same time. They took 2 steps back. Who's there? Han Yuro shouted. What? You just buried me and you don't recognize me? The green figure in the distance smiled. The heavy blood-patterned sword on his shoulder was very eye-catching. As the figure walked closer, a pair of dark and bright eyes appeared above the evil smile. The familiar heavy sword and the steady and determined voice. Who else could it be but Su Yi? Su Yi! Han Yuro and Bai Ling exclaimed at the same time. The tears on their cheeks had not dried yet. They cried with joy again. The two of them ran all the way to Sui. They looked at Sui from head to toe and saw that not only was Sui not injured, but he was also full of energy. Both of them were amazed. Sui, I thought. Bai Ling's face was full of tears. After the test of life and death and the betrayal of her sect, the little girl's eyes had matured a little. Sui patted Bai Ling's head affectionately and smiled. Weren't you very decisive when you killed just now? Why are you crying now? Bai Ling's face instantly turned red. She stomped the ground shyly and said, You were here long ago, right? Why didn't you come out? You made me cry like that. Sui smiled. His bright and deep eyes flashed with gentleness. He said softly, Of course I have to enjoy it a little longer to see my good sister worried about me. You're shameless. Bai Ling yelled. Sui, we know the situation. It's the demon-subduing sect's doing. Han Yuro's brows were filled with anger. Su Yi's gaze landed on the Immortal Sword sect disciples in the distance. His eyes were cold. He nodded and walked slowly towards the Immortal Sword sect disciples with the heavy sword in his hand. Sui, don't kill me. The Immortal Sword sect disciples looked as if they had seen a ghost. One of them hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. It's all the rules set by Yin Jiansheng and the demon-subduing sect. Qi Jiuzhen from the demon-subduing sect told senior brother that as long as we take back the treasure chest on you, we will gain great benefits. Chapter 1805. Gulp. With that, the Immortal Sword sect disciples were filled with fear. The Limitless sect disciples behind them were even more astonished. The demon-subduing sect's increment was truly unimaginable. What kind of treasure was Su Yi's treasure chest exactly? Seeing that there was no trace of the Yin sword sound among the disciples, Su Yi's lips curled into a smile as he asked, Where's the Yin sword sound? He escaped just now. Han Yuro said ruthlessly with a tinge of pity in her tone. The Immortal Sword sect disciples averted their gazes as they shuddered and retreated continuously. Hand over the artifact that your sect uses to communicate with the Yin sword sound. Su Yi knew that the disciples of the sect would have fixed communication tools to facilitate communication. It was even more so for a top-notch sect like the Immortal Sword sect. After a moment of silence, a few of the Immortal Sword sect disciples trembled and handed over a silver-white sword tassel with twisted expressions. Through this, you can sense the Yin sword sounds trace. The Immortal Sword sect disciple's body stiffened as he spoke in a trembling voice. Holding the sword tassel in his hand, he slightly attached his soul energy to it and felt a sword aura heading towards a cave in the northwest direction. Su Yi's eyes lit up. He knew that the Yin sword sound must be frantically running for its life, and the sword aura suddenly stopped at a cave. According to the information on the map earlier, Su Yi immediately understood that the Yin sword sound had stopped at a cave near the Demon Illusion Cave. He sneered in his heart. Turning around, Su Yi wrinkled his nose and exchanged glances with Han Yuro and Bai Ling. You don't mind letting me chop these people up, right? They're your enemies. Of course, you'll do it. The two of them smiled gently at the same time. As soon as Han Yuro finished speaking, Su Yi's blood demon killing god sword turned into a long arc in the air and slashed heavily on the bodies of the Immortal Sword sect disciples who had yet to recover from their shock. The sword body crazily absorbed the fresh blood, and the glow of the blood patterns became brighter and brighter. The black sword body didn't seem as black as before. Looking at the corpse lying on the ground like mud, Su Yi's eyes were unusually cold. Those who tried to kill him must be killed, especially those who took the initiative to incur his hatred. Su Yi would never show mercy. The eyes of the Boundless Sect's disciple, who had just urged Han Yuro not to rescue Su Yi, immediately turned cold. He didn't say a word. Saliva rolled crazily in his throat and his face was pale. In the eyes of the crowd, Su Yi's figure had become a murderous demon. Holding a huge sword in his hand, he showed no mercy to his enemies. His overflowing blood energy caused people's hearts and souls to tremble for no reason. After absorbing the blood, the god-slaying sword turned back into a piece of black metal and no longer had any reaction. Su Yi smiled and stuffed 2 interspatial bags into Han Yuro and Bai Ling's hands. "I killed the people you captured. Take this as compensation," Su Yi said. "So many Yao cores." Han Yuro and Bai Ling looked at the interspatial bags in their hands. There were 20 heavy Yao cores in each of them. Bai Ling frowned slightly. Su Yi must have worked hard to get this from the phantom leopard's nest. Now that he was giving it to her so generously, she felt a lump in her throat again. "If I successfully refined it, it'll be 1,000 points. More than 800 points will cross the benchmark line." Bai Ling exclaimed softly, her eyes fluctuating. Holding the interspatial bags tightly in her hands, Han Yuro asked suspiciously, "Su Yi, what about you? Don't you need your own points?" "Mine is broken." Su Yi shook the fiery Yao core bag in his hand and shook his head with a bitter smile. Without refining the Yao cores, Su Yi could only obtain points by killing people. Suddenly, Han Yuro used a white stripe in her hand and smashed it on the corpse of the immortal sword sect disciple. A large cluster of white light spots rose in the cave like dandelions, passing through the stone walls of the mountain and passing through. "This group of people is simply too despicable. Don't worry, the immeasurable sect will avenge you. And the Taiheng sect, it's all the demon-subduing sect's fault. I really don't know what's in the demonic cave that made them do this." Su Yi's eyes widened, and his lips curled into a strange smile. He said softly, "Demon-subduing sect, I'll settle this score with you guys soon. Qi Jiuzhen? Then I'll poke you with 9 needles." After that, Su Yi restrained his anger and returned to normal. He said, "Hurry up and refine the Yao cores, I'll take care of the rest." Su Yi, other than the demon-subduing sect, there are still a few other upstream forces. I reckon they're all rushing towards the demonic cave. You have to be careful. Han Yuro's eyes were bright and full of concern. "Don't worry, with you 2 good sisters, I won't be in trouble so easily." Bai Ling clenched her fists in front of her chest and said encouragingly, Su Yi, I'm sure you'll get a good result in the Tianfeng ranking tournament." Su Yi was able to escape unscathed from the encirclement of LV's 7 demon emperors. Bai Ling was full of respect and admiration for Su Yi. She stared at Su Yi without blinking her eyes. Su Yi smiled faintly, and then disappeared into the dimly lit cave under everyone's gaze. Holding the dimensional bag in her hand, Han Yuro's face turned pale. Her tightly pursed red lips parted slightly, and her starry eyes flashed with infinite sorrow. "Good sister. Does he only see me as a sister?" Han Yuro murmured softly. Su Yi, who had already left the cave, followed the information in his mind and quickly headed towards the direction of the Yin sword sound in the northwest. "So many Yao cores, and I can't even convert them into points after refining them. What a pity!" Su Yi, who was enveloped by the fiery red vital energy, felt a pang of pain in his heart. "After killing the Yin sword sound, I'll have to find another disciple from a top force to get some points," Su Yi said softly. The iron soul puppet lazily interrupted and whispered, "There's nothing to pity. Refining Yao cores is not that easy. It's just a waste of time. According to the demon-subduing sect's nature, they'll probably send the rest back. Killing people is the shortcut to points." Then, he licked his dry lips, and his fine old eyes were full of cunning. Under the night sky, the bright moon hung high in the sky. Su Yi gradually calmed down. Now, the most important thing was to find the demon cave before everyone else and solve the mystery of the mysterious treasure chest. He was sure that the mysterious treasure chest had a great connection with the demon cave. Looking at the 3 locations on the map that had not yet lit up, Su Yi's heart sank. What's in the demon cave? Why did the demon-subduing sect mobilize so many people? Sui could not help but be curious. He instantly approached the demon cave and took another step closer to the cave where the sword sound was. His eyes narrowed, and looking at the cave where the energy waves were not too strong, Sui concealed his aura and quickly went in like a monkey. Following the blood chi in the air, Sui could clearly feel the trace of the sword sound. Chapter 1806. Whose aura is this? Why is it so familiar? Sui muttered doubtfully. After thinking about it carefully, he felt that it was very familiar. He simply raised his essence, and the whirlpool under his feet spun rapidly. Like a fiery red phantom, he flashed through the long tunnel. The cave was much simpler than the phantom leopard's nest. Sui guessed that it was left behind by an ancient great demon. The fluctuations here had also accumulated over time and had become extremely weak. After passing through a few short tunnels and flying up for a while, Sui felt that he had already reached the top of the hill. Just as they reached the flat ground, Sui heard voices in the distance and quickly turned around. He held his breath and listened carefully. Who did this fragrance belong to? Isn't this the little saint lady who sacrificed herself to save her husband? Yin Jianxing smiled miserably, looking very sinister and scary. Lu Ruoxi, who was wearing a fiery red dress, said indifferently with cold eyes. If you don't have anything to do, don't block my way. I want to go out. A good dog doesn't block the way. Lu Ruoxi shouted angrily, shaking her red robe. Yin Jianxing quickly blocked Lu Ruoxi's path and asked in a low voice, Why? If the one standing here was Sui, you wouldn't be in a hurry to leave, right? Lu Ruoxi's beautiful eyes were cold. She stared at Yin Jianxing's wretched face like an ice drill and said coldly, What do you mean? I'm asking you, where is Sui? Yin Jianxing's face was cold as he fiddled with the long sword in his hand. How would I know? Get lost. Lu Ruoxi's eyes were filled with anger. Her hands slid to the two sabers at her waist as she shouted. Yin Jianxing's eyes flashed. He raised the long sword in his hand, and 3 sharp sword lights slashed at Lu Ruoxi. Bang! 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 The sudden sword chi created 3 deep trenches on the ground. Amid the flying rocks, Lu Ruoxi landed behind Yin Jianxing like a fiery red maple leaf. Trash like you who uses sneak attacks are not even worthy of carrying Su Yi's shoes. Lu Ruoxi shouted angrily. Yin Jianxing released a terrifying aura amidst his hatred. A small clump of earth-colored light gathered at the tip of his sword. Earth attribute martial artist? Sui murmured to himself. The Immortal Sword sect had always focused on sharp sword chi, but the Yin sword sound specialized in earth elemental yuan chi. This kind of strange combination allowed the sound of the Yin sword to possess not only great destructive power, but also great defensive power. Sui lifted his chin slightly, staring coldly at the back of Yin Jianxing. Both of you are bewitched by that bastard Sui. I see that Sui is very concerned about you. Playing with his woman first before killing her, he must be heartbroken, right? Yin Jianxing sneered. Following a wild and obscene laugh, the sound became louder and louder, and the thin layer of the mountain shook uncontrollably. Subconsciously, Lu Ruoxi pulled her bright red dress tighter. Her beautiful face turned slightly red, and her breathing instantly became heavy. Pervert! I'll kill you! With a loud shout, Lu Ruoxi's twin blades carried a terrifying aura, as if they could destroy everything. Her sage monarch chi covered her body, and the light was like a small sun. The blazing golden light turned into 2 extremely terrifying blades in the light of the 2 blades, shooting towards Yin Jianxing. Yin Jianxing's expression changed slightly, and then he gave a strange smile. A yellow halo rose around his body, like a small fortress that surrounded Yin Jianxing. No wonder this bastard could escape from the joint attack of the immeasurable sect and Taixing sect. Such defensive power is indeed extraordinary. Sui muttered to himself, and his eyes flickered slightly. Boom! Lu Ruashi's sacred blade aura flashed several terrifying cracks in the air, and the golden wind blades carried a vast amount of energy as they collided with the yellow halo. The continuous muffled sounds were deafening, and the sweeping wind destroyed the layer of soil in the cave, turning it into fine powder. Yin Jiansheng, who was inside the fortress, didn't blush and his heart didn't beat fast. Only the yellow halo had some slight crack. He looked at the slightly surprised Lu Ruashi with a mocking gaze, and said with a murderous intent, "You're still too weak to play with weapons with me. Little girl in the first stage of the Origin Emperor realm, go to hell." Break! With a long sword in hand, Yin Jiansheng shouted coldly. When the sage monarch Qi's attack was neutralized, his figure instantly dissipated in the air. When she opened her eyes again, Yin Jiansheng's sword radiance had already surged like a tide, and Lu Ruashi hurriedly retreated. Like a phantom, the sword radiance followed her like a shadow, and the huge attack locked onto Lu Ruashi's position. She could only hear a perverted laughter in the air. "You're mine now, beautiful." The terrified Lu Ruashi closed her eyes tightly, and the sage monarch Qi protected her body. The sword radiance in her eyes instantly disappeared. Yin Jiansheng's wretched figure flew over Lu Ruashi's head, and flew in a strange arc to the back. Bang! Immediately, a huge crater was formed in the mountain. Yin Jiansheng kept vomiting blood, and his body was tightly stuck in the crevice. His eyes were filled with shock. When Lu Ruashi, who was safe and sound, opened her eyes again, she saw a green figure standing before her. A huge heavy sword rested on his shoulder, and a sinister smile appeared on his face as he stared at Yin Jiansheng in the mountain. "You dare to touch my woman?" Sui shouted. Lu Ruashi's eyes unconsciously lit up, and she anxiously called out, "Sui." Sui's gaze fell on Lu Ruashi, and he helped her up. He said gently, "Are you all right?" She shook her head heavily, and her red lips were gently pursed. She was in a daze. From Man City to the storm gathering, and then to this nameless cave, Sui gave her a different feeling every time. Looking at Sui now, Lu Ruashi no longer cared about Sui's life. Her breathing gradually quickened, and she remained silent. "Sui." Yin Jiansheng's eyes were gloomy, and his shrunken pupils were filled with anger. After a heavy thud, rocks flew everywhere and broke through the wall. With the sound of the Yin sword, it suddenly stared at Sui gloomily. "Very well. I don't have to look for you anymore. Hand over the treasure chest." Yin Jiansheng slowly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were bloodshot, and his malicious gaze was like a venomous snake. "With just you?" Sui twisted his neck and said softly, "We will know if I have the qualifications to fight. A trash at the second level of the Origin Emperor realm dares to be the hero and save the damsel in distress. Go to hell." With a fierce voice, Yin Jiansheng roared angrily. In an instant, the yellow Yuan Qi dissipated, and a white Yuan Qi attribute suddenly rose from the tip of the sword. The tyrannical wind attribute gathered on the sword body, and it emitted a mystical light. The aura vibrated, and it filled the entire cave. The energy was overflowing, and the aura was vigorous. In an instant, Yin Jiansheng turned into a sword shadow that covered the sky, and he slashed toward Sui and Lu Ruashi in the blink of an eye. Sui, who was in the middle, was very calm. He had the upper hand, and his clothes and hair fluttered in the wind. He pushed Lu Ruashi far away, and the energy in his body suddenly surged. His body rose, and he stood on the hilt of the god-slaying sword. He instantly formed a seal with his hands. Chapter 1807. Roar! The white flood dragon god image roared in the sky like a living creature. Its demonic aura instantly suppressed the wind and lightning aura. Extreme illusion sky blade. Su Yi's eyes flickered with radiance. His spirit energy surged out and the flood dragon instantly poured into his body. A swift and violent white light surged out. Immediately, Yin Jianqing's eyes widened in fear as though he saw a terrifying aura suppressing the surroundings. The white light rushed into the sky and rumbled in the void. Whistling gales filled the void as the two clashed. Yin Jianqing's body was instantly surrounded by a sky full of spirit light blades. The giant white flood dragon god image seemed to want to devour Yin Jianqing and grind him into pieces. The cave wasn't considered spacious, and there were continuous explosions. Rumble, finally, as the image dissipated, a lump of flesh that looked like it was smashed flew back and smashed into the deep pit, turning into a pool of blood that flowed out from the cracks. In a split second, terrifying cracks extended from the mountain to the ground like a spider web. It was a ghastly sight. This scene was too horrifying. Even Lu Ruoxi, who was in the middle of it, couldn't react. Her eyes froze as she stared blankly at Su Yi's overflowing killing intent. The demonic aura in the air was like a poisonous fog, forcing Lu Ruoxi to take a step back. Impossible. This kind of spirit pressure is too terrifying. This scene was deeply rooted in Lu Ruoxi's heart. Lu Ruoxi shifted her gaze to the side when she saw the godlike Su Yi withdrawing his energy and jumping down from the sword hilt. He is actually so strong, Lu Ruoxi muttered softly. It was the first time he used a soul skill to instantly kill someone outside the Imperial Heavenly Palace. Furthermore, he was at the third level of the Origin Emperor realm. Yin Jianqing's strength wasn't at his peak. He was first killed by the joint attack and then exhausted some of his energy to fight with Lu Ruoxi. However, Su Yi was already very satisfied that the White Flood Dragon God's power had such a destructive effect. With such strength and the fifth level of the Origin Emperor realm, Su Yi believed that he had the strength to wrestle with Yuqi Changfeng and Tyrant Si San Tong. With a wave of his hand, the demonic aura in the air drilled into the soil and disappeared. The cave became quiet again. Only the light spots of energy in the deep pit were left, proving that Yin Jianqing had been expelled by the space. Hugh. Letting out a long sigh, Su Yi looked at his demonic core pouch and saw that his points had increased to 620 points. He was shocked. This kid has also refined quite a number of demonic cores. It's a pity that it's all mine now. Su Yi's lips curled into a smile. The ancient aura had already disappeared. Su Yi came before Lu Ruoxi and asked in a low voice, "Are you all right?" This was the first time they had been in such a one-on-one situation. The two of them instantly became a little awkward. "I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for saving me." Lu Ruoxi's gaze stopped on Su Yi. Her eyes were filled with hidden surprise, and her voice paused slightly. Su Yi shrugged and flicked the dust off his shoulder. "I just want to prove that I'm stronger than that fellow from Xiahong House." Instantly, Lu Ruoxi's heart skipped a beat. Her delicate body trembled slightly as she said, "It's not what you think. I don't know why you want to compete with him." Su Yi approached Lu Ruoxi in an instant and extended his hand. His eyes were clear and bright as they met Lu Ruoxi's gaze. "I don't have time to compete with him. I just want to tell you that no one can take away what's mine." Lu Ruoxi looked at Su Yi with a faint flame in her eyes. After not seeing him for so many years, that little rascal from the marketplace had already become mature and resolute. Lu Ruoxi looked at Su Yi's slightly parted lips and felt a sense of calmness and profoundness at the corner of his brows. "Do you know how miserable I was at that time?" Su Yi said coldly. "I have never encountered such a thing before, so my reaction will be too extreme." His voice became softer and softer, until it was as soft as a mosquito. The corners of Su Yi's mouth curled up into a smile. His tightened brows gradually relaxed as he sighed. "Without you, I wouldn't be who I am now. You've always been the reason for my struggle." Lu Ruoxi's face turned even redder from Su Yi's words. Her eyes were blurred as she spoke in a low voice. "Su Yi, let go of me first. Speak again. Lu Ruashi's delicate lips were covered by 2 soft and wet kisses before she could finish her sentence. Her memory returned to the streets of the marketplace. At that time, she was slender and elegant, but she was bullied by a dirty little rascal. Now, she was still being bullied by this little rascal. Tears flowed down her cheeks uncontrollably. She clenched her snow-white fists and smashed them on Su Yi's broad shoulders. Then, she gave up resisting. A few moans made the two of them even more immersed in a wonderful dream. Lu Ruashi seemed to have thought of something as her lips and teeth touched. As if she had made up her mind, she bit Su Yi lightly and pushed Su Yi half an inch away. Her eyes were cold and her cheeks were red. She said in a trembling voice, Su Yi, you're bullying me again. Aren't you my woman? Su Yi rested his head on Lu Ruashi's shoulder, his hot breath blowing on her neck. Lu Ruashi buried her head deeper and turned away. She whispered, Who's your woman? Su Yi's lips curled into a smile. He said softly, You sacrificed yourself to save me. I already know what you're thinking. Lu Ruashi's blushing eyes glistened. She took a deep breath as if to calm the turbulence in her heart. Su Yi, even if our hatred is erased, we're still on the same side. Su Yi snorted coldly. His eyes turned serious as he gently lifted Lu Ruashi's chin. So, this is why you want to follow Xiahong House? Lu Ruashi was speechless again. Su Yi said coldly, Anyway, I'll eventually step onto the sacred mountain. It's only a matter of time before the sacred mountain is destroyed. There's no need for us to split up. Lu Ruashi's expression instantly turned serious. Her beautiful face twisted slightly as she said anxiously, Su Yi, I know you have a lot of grievances with the sacred mountain, but the sacred mountain isn't what you think it is. If you're willing, I'll help you explain it to the sacred senior. Trust me. Lu Ruashi's heart trembled. She was full of concern for Su Yi. Looking at Lu Ruashi's anxious look, Su Yi suddenly felt that this girl was extremely cute. However, there was an insurmountable gap between them. Su Yi immediately said, There are some things that you and I can no longer decide. The sacred mountain must be destroyed. Su Yi's resolute attitude caused Lu Ruashi's eyes to darken instantly. While she was panicking, she heard a violent explosion around her. The violent shaking immediately pushed Su Yi towards Lu Ruashi. The two of them hugged each other tightly. 2 soft mounds pressed against Su Yi's chest, startling Su Yi. The demonic god armor and saint ruler aura wrapped around the two of them, and with a tilt of their heads, they barely dodged a huge rock. Chapter 1808. Looking at the countless falling rocks, Lu Ruashi's pretty face, which was resting on Su Yi's shoulder, instantly turned serious. Bang bang bang! Cracks appeared all over the place, and a whirlpool of gas swept across the sky like a storm, shattering the surrounding space into countless tiny fragments. The entire hill was about to collapse, and Lu Ruashi's eyes trembled as she shouted, This place is about to collapse. Let's get out quickly. Their tightly intertwined bodies quickly separated, and the hill was shaking non-stop in their eyes. The violent shaking was like an earthquake. Just as they were about to fall, the two figures retreated backwards like phantoms. Bang! A huge rock rolled down from above, smashing a 10-meter-long crack in the ground, and a sonic boom reverberated everywhere. Su Yi shielded Lu Ruashi behind him. Looking at the crack, Su Yi was suspicious. He had paid special attention to his strength just now, so how could the hill still collapse? Lu Ruashi, who was standing behind him, had already regained her composure, and her brows were tightly knitted. Her body, which was wrapped in a sage ruler aura, was trembling slightly as she stared nervously at the falling rocks. Suddenly, a suction force appeared on Su Yi's palm, and the blood demon slaying god sword flew into his right hand. A scarlet light rose from his body like the sun, and the fire attribute essence wrapped around the blood demon slaying god sword. As the scarlet light surged, the bloody light streaked across the air, and blasted on the wall. Bang! An incomparable pressure blasted the hill above into dust, and an ancient aura spread out like waves, enough to suppress the entire world. Bang! Another large piece of rock was sent flying, and a pure golden barrier was quickly revealed above them, overflowing with light. A sacred aura spread out, and the exposed hill was surrounded by golden light. The tyrannical golden aura was mixed with surging killing intent, causing the energy of heaven and earth to tremble chaotically. This kind of light was extremely familiar. Su-yi frowned and secretly circulated the art of driving the heavens in his heart, directly suppressing this intense killing intent. Adulterous couple. Su-yi, have I finally caught you? A tall figure stood on the exposed hill, looking down coldly as he sneered. Su-yi and Lu Ruoshi's expressions turned cold at the same time. The newcomer was Yuchi Changfeng. Yuchi Changfeng, are you courting death? Su-yi's black hair fluttered in the wind as he brandished the blood devil slaying god sword. The sword was covered with a layer of scarlet killing intent. It was like a bloodthirsty demon pointing at the figure above its head. If I hadn't come back, I wouldn't have been able to see such a good show. Lu Ruoshi, you're the holy maiden of the holy mountain, yet you're shamelessly seeking personal gain with Su-yi. You're truly despicable. Yuchi Changfeng said coldly. Shut your damn mouth. It's not up to you to tell me what to do. Lu Ruoshi scolded without the slightest hesitation. Facing Yuchi Changfeng, Lu Ruoshi was already brimming with killing intent. Bang! Unable to restrain his anger, Su-yi directly slashed out with his sword. The violent aura was like a thunderbolt, and the sword's momentum was extremely terrifying. In an instant, the sacred light flickered violently and dissolved the scarlet blade light, completely devouring the sword's momentum. The second-level Origin Emperor's sword light only left a shallow mark on the sacred light before it disappeared in an instant. You want to break my sage monarch domain with your trashy cultivation? Yuchi Changfeng sneered as he looked at Su-yi, who had a cold expression on his face. Yuchi Changfeng, let us out quickly! Lu Ruoshi shouted. Shaking his finger, Yuchi Changfeng closed his eyes and said, I want everyone to see the disgusting things you and Su-yi did in the cave during the first round of the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. Immediately after, a trace of ruthlessness flashed across Yuchi Changfeng's eyes as he said in a deep voice, If I can't have it, no one can. Lu Ruoshi's eyes were filled with frost as she shouted angrily, Su-yi and I were originally engaged. Did I say whether I would choose you or the Snow-Red House? It's between me and Su-yi, it's none of your business. In the cold atmosphere, Su-yi looked at Lu Ruoshi protecting him and couldn't help but feel touched and amused. This girl is quite protective of her husband when she's angry. Yuchi Changfeng shook his long robe heavily and said coldly. Then all of you can go to hell. With a ruthless expression, Yuchi Changfeng raised his hand and narrowed his eyes. In such a sage monarch domain, it could affect one's soul and erase one's vitality. A cultivator would quickly wither. Rumble! A deafening sound spread out from far away, causing the three of them to be shocked at the same time. An indescribably fierce demonic beast's roar resounded in the air, and a sharp aura was faintly discernible. Roar! Through the light, Su-yi could feel an immense demonic aura and pressure emanating from the heavens and earth. Standing at the top of the mountain, Yuchi Changfeng's eyes flashed with surprise and fear as he roared. Consider yourselves lucky. Just wait for your death here. Immediately, a violent gale and sword chi exploded in the void. Yuchi Changfeng cut through the space ripples and set off layers of waves, sweeping toward the northwest. Oh no, the phantom demon cave has appeared! Su-yi roared as he looked at the black figure in the distance, and his expression changed. Lu Ruoshi's eyes also flickered. Looking at Su-yi's face, all the words in her heart were swallowed in her throat. I have a small piece of space-cracking jade here. The space rules in this domain are complicated. I guess only one person can pass through. Use it to get out first. Su-yi took out a glowing jade from his arms with a dignified look in his eyes. Lu Ruashi kept shaking her head and said firmly in a low voice, "We'll leave together. I can break through it." Su-yi suddenly smiled, raised his hand, and waved the blood demon killing god sword in his hand. "The difference between your cultivation level and Yuchi Chongfeng's is too great. You won't be able to break through it directly. If you're trapped here, your soul energy will be constantly drained. In the end, you won't be able to escape death." Lu Ruashi's face turned pale. Even though she had the power of a sage ruler, she could still feel the soul in her body weakening. She opened her eyes forcefully and looked at Su-yi's calm expression. It was as if he wasn't bound by the sage ruler domain at all. She was surprised. "Don't hesitate. Get out quickly. Wait for me in the Phantom Demon Cave. I'll let you see me kill Yuchi Chongfeng with your own eyes." After pondering for a moment, Lu Ruashi stomped her foot on the ground and gritted her teeth. She looked back at Su-yi deeply and formed a hand seal. Quietly, a mysterious force enveloped Lu Ruashi, and she instantly turned into light spots and disappeared from the cave. The pitch-black space crack disappeared, and golden light filled the cave. He withdrew the blood demon killing god sword in his hand, and two sharp rays of light shot out from his eyes. Rumble! Unparalleled origin chi suddenly surged out. Su-yi smiled slightly and said in a low voice, "Now I can go all out. 8th level of the Origin Emperor Realm, instant kill." Buzz buzz. Chapter 1809. At that moment, Su-yi's body was shrouded in a dazzling light within the narrow cave. He held the starry soul in his hand, surrounded by a divine aura, and let out a resounding roar. Suddenly, his fiery red eyes were filled with a bloody aura. An ancient aura appeared once again, making one feel as if they had returned to the primordial era. Su-yi aimed at the sage monarch realm above him. The flames in his eyes danced endlessly. The ferocious figure of the Emperor's sparrow condensed once again. One gold and one yellow restrained each other. When the blade light slashed across, the divine bird's wings soared into the sky, and a dazzling light exploded towards the sage monarch realm. Bang! The matchless phoenix spewed out flames that could destroy everything, and it swallowed the sage monarch realm into nothingness. Wind and thunder swept across the area. Standing high on the mountain peak, a young man's eyes were filled with fire as he looked disdainfully at the origin energy in the distance. "Yuchi Chongfeng, you must die." The starry sky was like a chessboard. The origin energy explosion in the distance pushed the dark clouds over. In the distance, the sky was filled with divine aura, and the sound of wind and thunder was incessant. Su-yi knew that the three upper echelons must be fighting a bloody battle with the barbaric beasts guarding the demonic fantasy cave. The vast square was instantly engulfed by a vast gust of wind. Endless dazzling light rose, and the surrounding space was torn apart. Su-yi lifted his chin slightly and activated the Origin Supreme technique. He said softly, "The demonic beasts in front are not ordinary. They have the strength of an origin ancestor." The iron soulfish's eyes darkened as he carefully sensed the changes in the aura in the distance. Suddenly, Su-yi's eyes lit up. Just the barbaric beasts guarding the cave were already at the demon ancestor realm. One could only imagine what kind of treasures were hidden inside. At this thought, Su-yi's lips curled into a smile as he muttered, "Let them fight. I love to take advantage of the situation." After saying that, Su-yi sat cross-legged on the flat ground on the mountain peak, and his eyes were fixed on the dazzling energy fluctuations. He took out a bottle of spirit liquid and quickly swallowed half of it. Boundless energy flowed through his wide meridians, passing through several main meridians and entering his dantian. An astonishing aura enveloped Su-yi's body. A feeling of being filled with elemental energy was quickly generated, and the divine black spirit meridians started to swell up. As the hand seals condensed, Countless tiny origin energy beams drilled into Su Yi's body through his pores, rapidly gathering together according to the primordial origin supreme law's circulation route. Time ticked by. About 2 hours later, the world regained its tranquility. In the distance, the ancient sacrificial sound had already stopped. All that could be heard was the rise and fall of the pine trees and the night wind. Su Yi exhaled deeply. His eyes flickered with a mysterious light as he stood up. A huge amount of energy flowed through his boiling blood, giving Su Yi a brand new look. The spirit liquid is still the most reliable. Just like that, I've already recovered all the spiritual energy I've just consumed. Gently twisting his head, Su Yi's body burst with crackling sounds. He instantly took a step back and soared into the sky like a divine bird. A shadow streaked across the sky, and icy blue light sparkled. In an instant, Su Yi was hidden under the dark starry sky. The closer he got to the demonic fantasy cave, the more intense Su Yi could feel the intensity of the battle just now. Standing on the trunk of a dilapidated tree, he saw that the thick trunk had been split in half, and the smell of burnt flesh wafted up. The entire northwest hinterland of the great demon mountain range had turned into a burning hell. Desolation and distorted space were everywhere. It's been hard on those people. Su Yi sneered in his heart. Rumble. Seeing that only a few disciples of the demon-subduing sect were left guarding the entrance of the demonic fantasy cave, Su Yi raised his hand and tapped his chin. An ancient scarlet-eyed python that was several hundred zhang long lay across the entrance of the demonic fantasy cave, surrounding it in a circle. Its eyes were still filled with ferocity, as if it was defending the demonic fantasy cave even in its death. The demonic chi dissipated bit by bit, and the huge pressure caused the guards to feel apprehensive as they patrolled back and forth. Looking at the arrangements below, Su Yi knew that the 3 major factions had all gone in. Those left behind to guard the entrance were all experts of the demon-subduing sect. They were all male, but the legendary Chi Jiuzhen was nowhere to be seen. "Kid, go in quickly," the iron soulfish urged. Seeing the ancient scarlet-eyed python die with its eyes wide open, old Tai frowned. Su Yi looked around. Using his soul sense, he could sense that there were dozens of origin chi formations rushing over from all directions. Those people upstream must be seriously injured. It won't be so fast. Let's snatch them first. As soon as he said that, a terrifying energy burst out from Su Yi's body. Looking at the dozens of demon-subduing sect disciples, he readied the blood fiend killing god in his hand. Kill! With a loud roar in his heart, killing intent rose from the depths of his eyes. The blood fiend killing god in his hand shone brightly, bringing with it a terrifying might as it slashed towards the dozens of people. Before the crowd could react, they only saw an icy blue light flash before their eyes, and their heads were separated from their bodies. Terrifying figures flashed as Su Yi shuttled through the crowd like a ghost. A dense mysterious energy caused the crowd to tremble. In the next second, what awaited them was death. Bang, bang, bang! A torrential energy burst out, and the blood runes on the blood fiend killing god in Su Yi's hand shone brightly. In a few breaths' time, dozens of Origin Void Realm experts were all dead. Blood and flesh flew everywhere, and heads were separated from their bodies. The extremely excited blood fiend killing god was like a hungry ghost pouncing on its prey, thirsting for blood. Su Yi couldn't help but look to the side. In the dark sky, the blood fiend killing god was spinning rapidly, sucking the blood of dozens of demon-subduing sect disciples dry. With the blood fiend killing god as the center, dozens of blood runes poured into the sword like a spider web. The demonic sword light was incomparably sharp, and even Su Yi couldn't help but feel a chill in his eyes. What the hell is the sword spirit in there? A vampire? Hurry up and get the python's demonic core, the iron soulfish whispered, his eyes shining brightly. What? Su Yi exclaimed softly. Retracting his shocked gaze, Su-yi spread out his soul energy. The dozens of auras in the distance were getting closer and closer. Su-yi quickly took out a spirit weapon from his hand. He skillfully took out a demonic ancestor demonic core the size of a human head from the ancient scarlet-eyed python, and was overjoyed. Those people are rushing into the demonic illusion cave, and no one wants to be left behind. It's too easy for me to get the demonic ancestor demonic core. Su-yi laughed loudly. His gaze fell on the corpses on the ground. The reason why these people were so nervous was not just because of the demonic ancestor demonic core. His smile gradually turned into a wild laughter. The energy contained in a demonic ancestor demonic core was not something a demonic emperor demonic core could compare to. If he could successfully refine it, he could raise his cultivation by an unimaginable amount. Chapter 1810. Su-yi exclaimed as he looked at the blood-fiend god-slaying sword that was spinning at high speed in the air. He shouted, "Have you sucked enough blood? We are going in." The great demon mountain range at night was filled with resplendent stars and gusts of demonic wind. Climbing up the python's corpse that resembled a small hill, Su-yi saw a desolate and bleak landscape. The great demon's roar continued in the distance as countless savage beasts prostrated themselves in the forest. Countless figures in the darkness were like hunters waiting for food. The forest shook as heavy breathing and murderous eyes stared at the entrance of the illusory fiend cave. The death of the primordial scarlet-eyed python was a great loss to the great demon mountain range. The beastly roars that sounded like the chanting of thousands of demons echoed throughout the mountains. Such a scene made Su-yi's heart skip a beat. A fishy wind quickly blew over as the demonic aura coming from the entrance of the illusory fiend cave was as gloomy as an abyss. Su-yi's soul suddenly trembled. His entire body unconsciously shuddered, and he unconsciously circulated the primordial supreme art. A vast aura enveloped his entire body, and the fiery heat dispelled the cold air around him. The aura inside is too terrifying. Old Tai, the aura inside seems unusual. Su-yi's eyes narrowed as he felt a sense of familiarity. The iron soulfish did not answer as usual as black smoke spread out from the entrance. Su-yi formed hand seals as he silently recited the heavenly Fey ancient scripture and the art of heavenly flight. The heavenly origin demon soul that was like a blazing sun emitted an extremely demonic light in his mind. Su-yi's eyes immediately revealed a look of excitement. The surrounding demonic aura poured into his body, but Su-yi felt extremely comfortable. The demonic aura permeated his body, and after it entered the heavenly origin demon soul, it overflowed with light. The vortex beneath his feet rose again as the mysterious and complex light patterns of the heavenly origin ancient scripture swept out. Su-yi, who was carrying the heavy sword on his shoulder, paused for a moment before rushing into the entrance of the illusory fiend cave. Chi-la-la! The entrance, which was filled with tiny specks of light, suddenly shone brightly. An ancient pressure surged out of the illusory demon cave and engulfed Su-yi's figure. This is. After Su-yi went in, Command Celestial Palace and dozens of first-rate forces had already rushed over after hearing the news. When they saw the tragic scene in front of them, they were all shocked and their gazes trembled. Jun Haotian looked at the tragic scene of the demon subduing sect disciples and the corpses of the ancient barbaric demonic beasts. His eyes narrowed. Is this Su-yi's doing? Jun Haotian couldn't help feeling a bit speechless. Judging from the aura here, Jun Haotian's soul energy could sense that Su-yi had been here. Hua hua hua! Suddenly, all the forces of the 6 continents, 3 prefectures, and 1 sea arrived at the entrance of the illusory demon cave. The Infinite Sect and Taxing Sect slowly signaled to the Imperial Palace. Among the first-rate forces, there were already 4 sects that were on the verge of being wiped out. Gemini Sect, Immortal Sword Sect, Taxing Sect, and Demon Subduing Sect. In addition, the 3 upper-tier forces had already entered. Now, only the Limitless Sect, Infinite Sect, Taiching Sect, and Command Celestial Palace were on par with each other. Among them, Command Celestial Palace was the strongest. Han Yuro's gaze landed on the ancient scarlet-eyed python. Her brows were tightly knitted, and her eyes were filled with worry. The dozens of first-rate sects behind her were eager to give it a try. But when they saw Command Celestial Palace guarding the entrance, their eyes were filled with fear, and they didn't dare to rush forward. Jun Haotian, what do we do now? Han Yuro asked. Jun Haotian's eyes were clear, and a trace of seriousness flashed in his deep pupils. He said in a low voice, "Only the 4 of us can watch out now." Jun Haotian pointed at the entrance of the illusory demon cave and shouted, "There are many dangers inside. If you want to act alone, I won't stop you. But if you can't come out in time and delay the evacuation, you will really be handing over your life." His demonic aura filled the air, and terrifying fluctuations constantly blasted out from the entrance of the illusory demon cave. Even the void was distorted. Everyone secretly nodded and pointed at the illusory demon cave. Jun Haotian's words were not without reason. Without strength, going in rashly was asking for death, not for wealth. Jun Haotian's voice came out from his mouth, and a huge amount of soul energy rumbled like thunder. "But if you temporarily form an alliance with my Command Celestial Palace, I have a way to get you out. But the condition is that you have to listen to my command inside. Of course, you have to help us deal with some problems when necessary." Dozens of first-rate sects, including the Limitless Sect and Taiching Sect, were moved at the same time. Command Celestial Palace was on Su Yi's side. Forming an alliance with Command Celestial Palace meant becoming enemies with the 3 upper reaches forces. "If you don't form an alliance, I won't care about the safety of those who go in to join in the fun." Jun Haotian's eyes moved slightly, and his solemn expression was covered with frost. After saying that, dozens of people from Command Celestial Palace swarmed outside the illusory demon cave. Jun Haotian gave Han Yuro a look, and the Infinite Sect also blocked the other side of the illusory demon cave. The strong were respected. Without enough strength, they didn't even have the confidence to speak. The Taiching Sect's disciple thought about it again and again. With a dignified expression, he said loudly, "I'll form an alliance." And the Limitless Sect had been taught a lesson by Command Celestial Palace. They followed in a low voice, "I'll join too." In the end, the 4 forces formed an alliance. Jun Haotian looked around at the first-rate forces present and whispered, "As long as the remaining Limitless Sect and Taiching Sect don't play tricks, the first-rate forces won't be able to cause any trouble inside." As soon as he finished speaking, while waiting for the first-rate forces to reply, Ryugan River shouted from Xinjian Gate, "Xinjian Gate, form an alliance." Suddenly, like a wave surging in the crowd, another 7 or 8 first-rate sects jumped out to form an alliance. Everyone knew that it was best to enjoy the shade under a big tree. Facing a huge tiger like Command Celestial Palace, they had no other choice but to form an alliance. Good. Since this is the case, the other sects should take care of themselves. Bang! Under everyone's surprised gaze, the oppressive sound of the wind suddenly rose. A ghostly figure rushed out. Before anyone could react, it was like a black shadow that drilled into the illusory demon cave. It happened so suddenly that Jun Haotian's soul probed the aura that was left behind. Suddenly, his head hurt, and large beads of sweat dripped down because of the pain. Suddenly, his face turned slightly pale. He said in a low voice, "That person's aura can corrode the soul." That was. Han Yuro's eyes widened. Jun Haotian was surprised. That person's cultivation was at the 3rd level of the Origin Emperor realm, but the aura that suddenly burst out was really strange. What a strong aura! Wherever the figure flashed, the ground was directly corroded. The sharp aura carved a deep and smooth hole in the ground. It seems to be Yun Lingfeng who had a dispute with Su Yi. Jun Haotian muttered in his heart. Then, he looked at the Shunjian gate. Everyone in the Shunjian gate looked solemn and didn't say a word. His gaze fell on the entrance of the illusory demon cave. Jun Haotian could faintly feel that the aura in the illusory demon cave was the same as Yun Lingfeng's aura. His heart sank. Yun Lingfeng was obviously hiding some unspeakable strength. Let's go. Let's go in. Jun Haotian let out a long breath. After instructing the two disciples to stay outside, Jun Haotian's soul spread out and his figure streaked across the sky. Chapter 1811. It was a vast wilderness, flying under the obscure clouds. Su Yi's mood became more and more gloomy. It was not like he had imagined, where there would be martial arts techniques and natural treasures everywhere. On the contrary, due to the rampant demonic aura in the demonic cave, although there were many genius elixirs, they were far from attractive to Su Yi. Not to mention martial arts technique. The blood moon hung in the sky inside the demonic cave, and the stars in the dark sky were already drowned out. Dense arcs of wind and lightning surrounded the blood moon, exuding an extremely terrifying aura that made one's heart tremble. Above the void, a bolt of lightning quickly flowed, and faint spatial ripples appeared around it. It was like a ball of icy blue brilliance, moving quickly in the vast wilderness. Su Yi, who had long been circulating the Origin Supreme Art, had restrained his aura to the extreme due to the cloud frost steppe. He held his breath and carefully searched the boundless demonic cave. Huff! Finally, Su Yi let out a long breath and looked around. After traveling for dozens of miles, he finally rested on a high ground and stuffed an elixir into his mouth, quickly recovering. What the hell? Why is there nothing here other than demonic aura? Su Yi was a little dispirited. The iron soulfish whispered, the treasures might be in some buildings. Don't be careless. There must be a great secret here, but there are also great dangers. Stay alert. Su Yi curled his lips and shrugged his shoulders. He stepped on a high ground and his gaze finally fell on the entrance of a dilapidated building. There seems to be someone there. Su Yi's heart skipped a beat. He stared coldly in front of him. Suddenly, he took a step back and bent his knees slightly. Once again, he released an extremely terrifying aura. He quickly arrived in front of the building. Although it was called a building, it was more like a simple palace made of several huge stones. Under the blood moon, the stone array was arranged in picturesque disorder, as if it was hiding a terrifying destructive power. Just as Su Yi was shocked by what had happened here, several fierce forces came from afar, drawing in the energy of heaven and earth. Suddenly, the sky was scorching hot. Its aura is quite powerful. Su Yi's eyes darkened. He immediately hid behind a big rock. Su Yi's figure instantly arrived. Using his soul perception, he found out that the leader was a woman, about 30 years old. As the coldness spread out, her long dress fluttered. She was like a Rakshasa, cold and dignified, with a bit of killing intent and arrogance. Sister Jiuzhen, did Su Yi really come in? Why don't we look for that thing first? Without Su Yi, without the treasure chest, what's the point of finding that thing? The woman shouted coldly and waved her hands forward. Immediately, a majestic and terrifying aura spread out from the claw marks on the gloves. The space in front of him trembled as the claw slid forward. The entire space was instantly torn into strips. Clearly, the woman was starting to get anxious because she hadn't found Su Yi yet. What a coincidence! Qi Jiuzhen, I didn't look for her, but she came looking for me instead. Su Yi's lips curled up. His deep eyes flickered. Those three forces are like headless flies in here. It's not a big deal to let them find some monster cores. However, they must find Su Yi, take back the treasure chest, and avenge senior brother Hang. When Qi Jiuzhen's gloomy voice fell, the claw marks tightened again. Immediately, a ripple appeared in the space. So, she likes Nangong Hang. No wonder she hates me so much. Su-yi spread out his soul energy. After confirming that there were no other forces around, Su-yi suddenly released a blazing fire attribute energy. Qi Jiuzhen and the others' pupils shrank. They saw the center of the huge rock, as if it had melted, and a green-robed man walked out from it. The violent energy collapsed, and an invisible wave of aura spread out, causing a ripple in the space. Qi Jiuzhen, I heard that you had a hard time looking for me. Su-yi smiled faintly. Su-yi's eyes flashed coldly. Qi Jiuzhen, who was retreating, was infuriated by Su-yi's words. Instantly, a sharp aura spread out from the claw marks, causing a series of extremely profound claw shadows to appear around him. Su-yi, hand over your life. Qi Jiuzhen yelled. Under the oppressive aura, Qi Jiuzhen took the lead to slash at Su-yi. Zeng zeng. Su-yi's eyes darkened. He then smiled and said, You want to avenge Nangong Hang? Third-level origin sovereign realm trash. I want you to die. Su-yi's words infuriated him to the point that his face turned red. In an instant, hundreds of claw prints shot up into the sky, forming a giant claw-like pillar. Huge beams of light shot out in front of Su-yi, wanting to tear the space in front of him into nothingness. Boom! A second before the beams of light arrived, Su-yi smiled faintly. Qi Jiuzhen could clearly feel that Su-yi had evaporated from his shrinking pupils. In the next second, he was already beside the other disciples of demon subduing sect. Above the distorted space, Su-yi's sword intent surged. The blood demon slaying god sword was brandished like the wind. It tore apart the space like cutting vegetables. Not good. Qi Jiuzhen was slightly surprised. Su-yi's strength at the second level of the Origin Emperor realm had truly shocked him. When he turned his head back, Qi Jiuzhen was shocked. When he turned around, the few disciples of demon subduing sect had already turned into a rain of blood and splattered on the huge rock, turning it pitch black. Break! Qi Jiuzhen's figure turned around. Under the overwhelming force of the sword edge, he rapidly changed his attack. Under the impact of the force, a scarlet giant scorpion shadow suddenly rose behind Qi Jiuzhen. It looked sinister as though it was filled with gloomy ghostly qi. In an instant the entire huge rock array was filled with chilling qi. The giant scorpion shadow directly tore apart the space. The vicious soul energy tore apart the space. Its long scorpion tail curled up and waved at Su-yi like a banner to summon souls. Almost at the same time, a violent force surged into Su-yi's body like a tidal wave. It was as though his 5 viscera and 6 bowels had suffered a great impact. PFFF. Su-yi forcefully endured the fishy taste in his chest and circulated the Origin Supreme technique. After slightly weakening the attack, Su-yi's eyes flashed with a trace of killing intent. You are indeed a venomous woman. Suddenly, a blazing aura approached like lightning. Su-yi no longer held back and broke the restrictions of the red venomous tail scorpion. I'll beat you until you fall flat on your back. Su-yi roared. Surging energy surged out. The black strands were filled with a ferocious aura that could pierce through space. Ancient Crimson Seal. Su-yi crossed his arms, and a series of strange hand seals condensed, and a vast and majestic energy of heaven and earth gathered. Instantly, an incomparably huge palm print drew in the energy of heaven and earth. It turned into a terrifying waterfall and blasted towards Qi Jiuzhen's location. Qi Jiuzhen's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. His claw light burst out. The red scorpion palm print carried a terrifying aura as it collided with Su-yi's palm print. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 1812. Bang! The surrounding space suddenly shattered like a tsunami, revealing a huge and terrifying hole. The powerful chaotic energy was quickly blown in, and quickly turned into powder and dissipated. In the chaotic space, An enchanting and charming figure staggered back. Qi Jiuzhen wiped the blood from his mouth and instantly left in shock. He didn't dare to stay for a long time. Trying to leave? Not so easy. Su Yi's eyes flashed. He flapped his wings and appeared in front of Qi Jiuzhen. Looking at Qi Jiuzhen's pale face, a black light flashed in Su Yi's eyes. Suddenly, he lifted his leg and swept it across Qi Jiuzhen's waist. Puff! The sound of bones sinking could be heard. Qi Jiuzhen flew back like a kite with a broken string. He slammed violently against the boulder and finally fell heavily to the ground, groaning in pain. This rock is so hard. Su Yi's heart sank. Under normal circumstances, a normal rock would have been turned into dust by this kind of force. The huge rock here had been soaked in demonic energy for many years and had become incomparably hard. Su Yi, I won't let you go. Qi Jiuzhen supported himself with both hands on the ground. He struggled to get up, but fell on the ground even more miserably. Holding the huge sword, Su Yi walked to Qi Jiuzhen's side. He sneered in his heart and said, "You should at least be qualified to talk big. You killed my senior brother Nangong Hang. You even stole my demon-subduing sect's treasure chest. Demon-subduing sect won't let this go." Qi Jiuzhen allowed the blood to flow from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were filled with hatred as he stared at Su Yi. Su Yi shrugged. A trace of laziness flashed in his eyes. "You're as annoying as Nangong Hang. You like to play tricks behind my back. There's a dirty old man above and a bad kid below." He joined forces with Immortal Sword Sect and Gemini Sect to threaten Han Yuro and Bai Ling just to find the mysterious treasure chest. When he was in the Central Province, he even sent 2 experts to kill him. The grudge between him and the demon-subduing sect had already accumulated to the point of no return. Before coming here, Su Yi had already prepared himself to fight with the demon-subduing sect till the end. Instantly, Qi Jiuzhen shouted explosively, and the aura on his body shot out explosively once more. He clenched his fists tightly, and his face was covered in a savage and furious expression. "What's in the treasure chest? What does it have to do with the demon illusion cave?" Su Yi's eyes were cold and indifferent. A dazzling and scorching stream of Zhen Qi broke the space and tied up Qi Jiuzhen's hands and feet. "I won't tell you. Just kill me." Qi Jiuzhen clenched his teeth and said coldly. Bang! Su Yi narrowed his eyes and sneered. The scarlet-red waterfall with mysterious patterns gripped Qi Jiuzhen's hands and feet tightly. "Killing you will only dirty my hands. I'll tie you up here, and when I can't expel you, you'll naturally disappear from this world." A trace of panic flashed in Qi Jiuzhen's eyes as he shouted, "Shameless! Su Yi, you bastard!" Creak! The crisp sound was accompanied by a terrifying aura, and Qi Jiuzhen's face turned extremely pale. The intense pain in his wrist made him see stars. "I'll give you 3 seconds." Su Yi took out a bone-devouring spirit pill from his bosom and said with a faint smile, 3, 2, 1. Su Yi's face darkened. When he was about to stretch out his hand and feed Qi Jiuzhen the pill, Qi Jiuzhen said in a low voice, "I'll tell you." Qi Jiuzhen's face was as ugly as if he had killed his father. He told Su Yi that the treasure chest was obtained by an expert from the demon-subduing sect in the Demon Illusion Cave, and it was later lost by the demon-subduing sect. Nangong Hang went to the Central Province to look for the treasure chest, and later lost contact with the demon-subduing sect. After saying that, Qi Jiuzhen's face turned gloomy. Who would have thought that he went to the 9 Stars Valley to usurp the throne? Su Yi sneered in his heart. There's a phenomenon in the Demon Illusion Cave that requires the treasure chest to enter. That's the only thing I know. Qi Jiuzhen shouted. Su Yi stared coldly at Qi Jiuzhen's face and narrowed his eyes. It didn't seem like he was lying. Since that's the case, I'll send you out. Qi Jiuzhen's eyes narrowed. Su Yi's cold aura spread out and he didn't want to delay any longer. He formed a hand seal with lightning speed, and the yuan qi in his body surged out. In the blink of an eye, it blasted into Qi Jiuzhen's head. The energy in the sky suddenly tumbled and trembled, and a shocking muffled sound reverberated in the air. After the terrifying energy storm passed, Qi Jiuzhen turned into a ball of light and dissipated in the air. If the demon-subduing sect knows that their sect was wiped out in the demon illusion cave, that old pervert Qi Dongjue will definitely be pissed to death. Sui chuckled and spread out his soul spirit. Looking from afar, he could sense dozens of extremely weak auras scattering. He turned his head and looked at a quiet cliff. Dark clouds were floating, but there wasn't the slightest movement. Sui whispered, "Something must be wrong. It's so quiet over there. There must be something wrong." Then, Su Yi's figure stepped through the spatial cracks that constantly appeared around him, and arrived at a cliff. The strong winds below were biting cold, hiding an incomparably huge pressure. Su Yi's eyes narrowed and he took a deep breath. He quickly turned into a ball of light and swooped down. After descending for a long time, Su Yi finally arrived at the bottom of the cliff. When his foot landed on the path paved with stones, he seemed to have touched something round. It was actually a skull. It seems that a cultivator has been here before. Sure enough, there's something wrong. Su Yi looked down and his eyes darkened. After kicking the skull away, Su Yi subconsciously activated the primordial chaos supreme technique. His eyes were filled with dread. There's someone over there. Su Yi's sharp soul energy sensed a figure lying on a mountain. His brows furrowed. After quickly flying closer, he saw a graceful figure lying on the ground. Her bright starry eyes were tightly shut, her pretty face was pale, and her black hair was hanging on the ground. This figure was very familiar. "Ruashi?" Su Yi shouted. His heart suddenly thumped. He quickly flapped his wings and flew to Lu Ruashi's side. He helped her up and poured his yuan qi into her. After half a breath, Lu Ruashi gradually opened her eyes. Looking at the soft body lying in the painting, Su Yi felt an inexplicable pain in his heart. "You're out, Su Yi." Lu Ruashi smiled bitterly. Her voice was as thin as gossamer and extremely haggard. However, Su Yi could still feel Lu Ruashi's concern for him. Su Yi said coldly, shaking his head. The fire attribute energy in his hands was constantly healing Lu Ruashi's broken meridians. "What happened? Why are you here?" Su Yi asked in a hoarse voice. Lu Ruashi's hoarse voice made one's heart ache. Her eyes were red and blood spurted out from her mouth. "Pucci." Dark red blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Lu Ruashi said, "I was knocked down by Yuchi Changfeng." Chapter 1813. Lu Ruashi shook Su Yi's arm and said softly, "You have to leave now. Su Yi, hurry up and leave. The three major forces have already formed an alliance. They also know that you have the mysterious treasure chest. Don't let them find you." All of this was under Su Yi's gaze as he stared at Lu Ruashi's fair face. Su Yi said softly, "I'm not afraid of them. Don't worry, I'll help you get back at them." His eyes were bloodshot, and the aura of lust was surging up. Su Yi thought to himself that he had to find a way to get Lu Ruashi out of this place. Lu Ruashi wouldn't be able to hold on for long. If she was found by the three major forces, she would definitely die. Looking at the natural cave at the bottom of the cliff, he could feel the aura of an abyss spreading out. The surrounding rocks were extremely dry, as though they had been weathered for thousands of years. He could feel the dryness even before he walked in. "Ruashi, let's go." Su Yi's expression tensed up as he looked around the cave. He wondered if this was the phenomenon that Qi Jiuzhen had mentioned. Helpless, Su Yi could only choose to give up for now due to several mysterious aspects. Su Yi tightened his grip on Lu Ruashi's slightly opened red palace dress, revealing a few drops of dark red blood on her snow-white collarbone. "Su Yi, I don't want to be a burden to you. Put me down." Lu Ruashi's eyes turned moist as endless sorrow flowed out. What's coming can't be avoided. Everyone knows that treasuring a jade ring will arouse the envy of others. Besides, you're my wife. If I don't save you, who will? Su-yi smiled faintly. He carried Lu Ruashi on his back and held the heavy sword with his right hand while his left hand supported Lu Ruashi's fair and slender thighs. Two soft snowballs pressed against his back, but Su-yi wasn't in the mood at all. Right, where's the Xiahong Pavilion? When Yuchi Changfeng pushed you, where did he go? A trace of killing intent flashed through Su-yi's heart. I didn't meet up with the people from the sacred mountain and was discovered by Yuchi Changfeng, who was searching for anomalies. That's why, Lu Ruashi said in a low voice. After hearing Lu Ruashi's words, Su-yi's eyes flickered and his killing intent intensified. He carried Lu Ruashi on his back again. Looking up at the top of the cliff, Su-yi's wings rose once more. The fiery red light shone through Lu Ruashi's body and grew several times larger. From afar, it looked like the wings were growing on Lu Ruashi's body. I'll bring you out first. Su-yi let out a long sigh and brought Lu Ruashi to the flat ground with a heavy heart. Su-yi looked around and headed for the exit. Carrying Lu Ruashi on his back, he immediately slowed down. Furthermore, he couldn't use the Cloud Shadow Frost step. Otherwise, it would look like Lu Ruashi was flying in the air. It would be even stranger. Do you know which direction the three of them went? Su-yi circulated his yuan qi frantically and flew as fast as he could. Lu Ruashi pointed in 3 different directions. Su-yi immediately nodded and sped up toward the exit, deliberately avoiding those 3 directions. Halfway through, a sharp claw mark suddenly floated in the air. The claw mark left behind afterimages, and the space instantly froze. In an instant, a crazy gust of wind broke through the air and came close to Su-yi's shoulder. Then, with the momentum of a thunderbolt, it ruthlessly pressed toward the 2 of them. His expression changed, and yuan qi appeared under his feet again. Su-yi didn't even have time to think. He didn't even have time to look at the appearance of the newcomer before he changed his angle and flew in another direction. Su-yi, where do you think you're going? A sharp, wild laughter suddenly sounded behind Su-yi. It's Shangguan Shenjua. Su-yi's gaze tightened as he cursed inwardly. The strength of a 6th-level Origin Emperor Shangguan Shenjua wasn't as simple as it looked. Compared to Qi Jiuzhen, the difference was like heaven and earth. To be able to remain calm even after being suppressed by an 8th-level Origin Emperor realm expert like Dominator C, one could see how strong he was. I didn't encounter the weakest Yuchi Changfeng, but I encountered a troublesome one. Su-yi made up his mind and cursed inwardly. He flapped his fiery wings and lifted Lu Ruashi up. The blood demon slaying god's sword in his hand danced in the air, and the blood-red sword's shadow was thrown back a long distance. Taking advantage of this gap, he instantly fled a few hundred meters forward. This is bad. Su-yi knew that the 3 allied forces would receive the news at the same time. With Lu Ruashi around, it would be a joke to try to subdue Shangguan Shenjua in an instant. If he didn't want to be dismembered, he could only flee. Looking around, Su-yi randomly chose a direction and rushed forward again. Bang! 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 Countless rays of light rushed over from behind as boundless energy bombarded Su-yi's body. He used the rising shaking 100 steps and cloud shadow frost steps to prevent Lu Ruashi from getting hit. Su-yi felt a chill in his heart as he watched the energy in his body being drained. He clenched his fists tightly and tapped the air with the tip of his foot. Soon after, he pounced forward like an eagle. Rumble! Just as the distance between Su-yi and Shangguan Shenjua widened, another ray of lightning-like dragon-like light rushed over diagonally from the front. The golden light expanded to the extreme and filled the sky with dense rays of light that were about to pierce through Su-yi and Lu Ruashi. Yuchi Changfeng. Su-yi's heart shook violently, and his entire heart began to tremble violently. I didn't expect a stinking bug like you to be able to break through my sage monarch domain. Yuchi Changfeng stood on the clouds with his hands behind his back. His raised eyebrows had a trace of cunning. At this moment, Lu Ruashi's face was extremely pale. She said softly, "Su-yi, don't bother about me." Patter, patter. Large drops of sparkling tears fell on Su-yi's green robe. Su-yi smiled faintly. Due to the rapid loss of energy, his face was slightly pale and his eyebrows twitched. "I'm fine. Let's go." Su-yi tried his best to comfort Lu Ruashi. Su-yi, who was carrying Lu Ruashi on his back, felt the energy in the Great Void Divine Sea depleting so quickly for the first time. The pressure of 2 Origin Emperors wasn't something that a mortal like Qi Jiuzhen could compare to. Swish! Before he could reply, Su-yi turned around and glared at Shangguan Shinjua and Yuchi Changfeng. The aura around him surged again and turned into a scarlet ray of light that charged in another direction. Above the void, a strange scene suddenly appeared. After a ray of fire, 2 figures followed closely behind, like a huge character 4 human. Then, the 4 pairs of eyes involuntarily turned from astonishment to excitement. Both of them especially enjoyed this game of catching a turtle in a jar. Yuchi Changfeng said, "Humph. I already said that if we push this little girl down, Su-yi will definitely come to save her. Brother Yuchi, I'm really ashamed for the sacred mountain to have a saintess like Lu Ruashi. But I still admire her." Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 1814. Yuchi Changfeng laughed dryly. His face was gloomy and filled with killing intent. He said, "When I become a Saint Emperor, I will definitely send this little girl to the Divine Tiger sect. Brother Shinjua, you must remember Changfeng's kindness." The 2 of them exchanged blows, and their sinister laughter was heard by Su-yi and Lu Ruashi. Lu Ruashi was so angry that she turned pale. Su-yi clenched his teeth and frowned. If Lu Ruashi wasn't here, he would definitely cut Yuchi Changfeng into pieces. "Yuchi Changfeng, I want you dead." Lu Ruashi, who was in despair, coughed heavily. She clenched her tender white fists and bulged her silver teeth. She spat out another mouthful of blood. "Do you know what kind of place the sacred mountain is?" Su-yi's lips curled up, and his ashen face turned cold as he said in a deep voice. "Chi-la." Su-yi increased his speed again. Under the gaze of the 2 of them, his feet tapped on the air again, and his figure swept across the sky like lightning. "How dare you run!" Yuchi Changfeng and Shangguan Shinjua shouted at the same time. Their hoarse voices came from the wind, and they immediately pushed their hands forward. Wherever the palm print passed, a sharp light shone in the sky. The powerful aura and the muffled sound of breaking wind collided with Su-yi. Bang bang! 2 huge lightning bolts intertwined in the air and then separated. They attacked Su-yi from both sides at the same time. In an instant, it was as if a huge deep hole had been opened in the space. How hateful! These 2 sticky candies. Su-yi's gaze trembled, and his eyes were filled with resentment as he growled. Immediately after, in the instant that the space exploded, Su-yi's white flood dragon god's power quickly revolved, instantly turning into 4 afterimages in the air. Immediately, under the pitch-black and deep light, 4 identical figures quickly ran away into the distance. Why is this brat's identity so strange? Yuchi Changfeng's eyes flashed, and then he continued to chase with a gloomy face. In the sky, 3 figures chased each other, leaving a few long traces in the air. 2 people can't catch up to 1 person. What a waste! Suddenly, a vigorous voice came from the sky. A gust of wind that was even more violent than Shangguan Shinjua's rushed over from the void. Bang! Su-yi cried out in his heart. He didn't have time to raise his head. His figure moved to the side, and he knew it was Tyrant Si San Tong. An indifferent and low voice appeared out of nowhere in the void. It was an emotionless voice that suddenly appeared in the sky. If word gets out that the three of us can't even catch a little sparrow, how can we face others? Suddenly, Three Senses Tyrant C twisted his hands, and the space ripples in front of him twisted. The soul pressure between heaven and earth immediately became extremely heavy. Sui. Lu Ruashi's pale face was devoid of any color. He could feel her heart pounding violently. Tyrant C Three Senses is using all of his strength. Even Sui at his peak would be wary of such soul energy, let alone when he had been running for such a long time with Lu Ruashi on his back. Feeling the fierce aura, Suyi's eyes kept changing. He looked into his great void spirit sea and realized that more than half of his vitality had been depleted. Seeing the arrival of Tyrant C Three Senses, Yuchi Changfeng and Shangguan Shinjua's eyes became gloomy. Yuchi Changfeng sneered. "Brother Santong, you're fast." Tyrant C Three Senses exuded an oppressive aura. Compared to when he had just arrived at the demon-subduing sect, he had an additional dangerous aura. Shangguan Shinjua took out a folding fan, and his eyes shone brightly as he chuckled. "Brother Santong, you didn't even explore the surrounding demon-subduing ruins and rushed over to snatch this treasure chest with us. You're really proactive." "Cut the crap. If you know what's good for you, leave. If you don't, I'll make sure you can't even participate in the Tianfeng competition." Yuchi Changfeng and Shangguan Shinjua's faces turned cold. Tyrant C Three Senses cultivation was the highest among the three of them, and his hidden strength was unknown. In comparison, it would be difficult for the two of them to defeat him. The two of them remained silent. Sui, who was carrying Lu Ruashi on his back, had a cold look in his eyes. Sui said in a low voice, "Hold on tight." After that, Sui checked his remaining vitality again and quickly put the heavy sword back into his chest. Without the heavy sword's pressure, Sui felt much more relaxed. Sui thought to himself. It's really not easy to cultivate with me in the middle all the time. You want to catch me? In your next life. Sui roared. Tyrant C Three Senses, who saw that Sui wanted to run, pounced on him. He stomped his feet on the ground, and his body became still for a moment. Then, like a drawn bow, his body suddenly tensed up, and a yellow light flashed around him. The fist carried the power to distort space, and landed heavily on Suyi's location. Good. Sui took a deep breath, and the demon god battle armor instantly expanded and covered his entire body. When the fist arrived, the burning vitality in his dantian gathered in front of his chest. Bang! The fist of Tyrant C's three skills directly tore through the air, and the invisible force directly made a dent in Suyi's chest armor. In an instant, Sui could feel that his internal organs had shifted. His pupils shrank, and following the terrifying force, Sui gritted his teeth and swallowed the blood in his mouth into his stomach. The flaming wings on his back flapped rapidly. Borrowing the force of Tyrant C Three Senses, he shot out like a flaming cannonball and quickly escaped. What? Tyrant C Three Senses' face changed. He didn't expect that his full-strength attack would be blocked by Sui. He even borrowed such a powerful force to successfully escape. A low muffled sound reverberated in the air. Behind him, Yuchi Changfeng and Shangguan Shinjua were also shocked. How can this brat's physical strength be so strong? Chase! The three of them shouted at the same time, and soul energy surged out. In the eyes of the three of them, Suyi's figure became smaller and smaller. In just a few blinks of an eye, a group of extraordinary cultivators came from the direction Sui had escaped. Who dares to bully Sui? A deep, youthful voice rang out like a hot knife through butter. It turned out that Sui, who had escaped, had encountered the forces allied with Heavenly Palace. In order to cover for Sui, Jun Haotian and the others had specially waited for the three of them here. Jun Haotian, do you want to become enemies with our three forces? Tyrant C. Three Senses asked. Whoever harms Su-Yi will be the enemy of my Imperial Celestial Palace. Today, none of you will be able to catch up to Su-Yi. Jun Haotian held an artifact in his hand, and the sound of a dragon's roar reverberated in the air. In the sky, a surge of heaven and earth energy gathered, forming a huge vortex. Chapter 1815. The dozens of perfected ones from Jutian Palace, the immeasurable sect, and some other small forces made the three of them a force to be reckoned with. Yuqi Changfeng glanced at Shangguan Shenhua and Dominator Three Senses as killing intent flashed across his eyes. Are we still chasing? Dominator Three Senses suddenly burst into action. Dazzling light gathered in his hands as he shouted, "Kill! Whoever rushes out will get the treasure chest." Su-Yi carried Lu Ruoxi even tighter on his back. Su-Yi, I have wronged you in the past. Lu Ruoxi forced herself to open her eyes weakly as she watched the man below her shuttling through the void like the wind. Su-Yi smiled faintly. His face was already ashen as he said softly, "Never look at the world with just your eyes." His chest heaved violently. The demon god battle armor on his body had shattered on the way here, turning into a rain of light. Su-Yi's gaze was downcast. His left hand touched his slightly sunken chest that was aching faintly. The corner of his mouth twitched. This was the first time his body had suffered such a huge injury since he had cultivated the primordial Yang Sky Dragon Bone. The top experts of these top forces all have extremely tyrannical abilities. That palm strike just now was equivalent to the strength of an origin ancestor. It was definitely not easy for someone below the origin ancestor realm to tear his body like that. He turned around and looked at the huge collision of heaven and earth energy in the distance. Sonic booms rang out continuously as a chill flashed across his eyes. His lingering fear had yet to dissipate. Fortunately, the people from Jutian Palace had arrived in time. Otherwise, he and Lu Ruoxi would have no chance in the Tianfeng battle. Yuqi Changfeng, wait for me. I will definitely return today's humiliation to all of you in the second round. The corners of his mouth curved into a hateful smile. The fiery wings behind him flapped, and his figure instantly disappeared. At the same time, Su-Yi glanced to the side. The illusory demon cave was huge, and there were many demon concealment relics. Where should he go to take shelter at this time? Su-Yi was puzzled. Can we go to the cave just now? Lu Ruoxi asked gently. Su-Yi's eyes lit up. The cave just now had a strong aura. Ordinary people would not enter it rashly. It was indeed a good choice. Is your injury all right? If there's any danger inside, it's hard to say. Su-Yi shook his head and smiled bitterly. He couldn't go back to the Bridge of Helplessness after just leaving the gates of hell. With his cultivation base at the 5th level of the Origin Sovereign Realm, even without Lu Ruoxi, it would be extremely difficult for him to defeat the number 1 experts of several pinnacle forces whose cultivation bases were higher than his. It's fine. We've already made it through twice. Why should we be afraid of a third time? Lu Ruoxi smiled bitterly. He really didn't expect that after being used by Yuqi Changfeng twice, the great Holy Sun, whom he had always respected since he was young, would be so unbearable. On the contrary, the person who saved him several times was that little rascal from the marketplace. Lu Ruoxi's moon-like eyes flickered as she unconsciously tightened her grip on Su-Yi's shoulder. Let's go. Su-Yi hurriedly swallowed a pill, and the origin energy in his body flowed through his meridians in an orderly manner. Carrying Lu Ruoxi on his back once more, he turned into a streak of light and quickly arrived at the entrance of the cavern. Looking at the black aura that constantly emerged from the cavern, Su-Yi felt a sense of déjà vu. The frenzied energy fluctuation was like a roaring black beast. Thump! Su-Yi was shocked. Inadvertently, a tiny black ray of light flowed out from Su-Yi's fingertip and surrounded him, and Lu Ruashi. Looking down, Sui instantly frowned. With a bad premonition, he instantly entered the black cavern with Lu Ruashi. A fresh smell quickly rushed into Suyi's nose, and Lu Ruashi's expression immediately froze. She leaned against the wall and took deep breaths, her face turning even paler. "So comfortable," the iron soulfish said with a smile. Sui, who was enveloped by the black aura, also felt the black aura entering his body and turning into a vast amount of energy of heaven and earth. Immediately, it turned into the purest energy threads and flowed into his dantian. Sui, who was exclaiming in pleasure, looked at Lu Ruashi, who was acting strangely, and frowned. Placing his hand on Lu Ruashi's back, he closed his eyes and carefully examined her body. He discovered that the black aura was obstructing the flow of Lu Ruashi's yuan qi. "What is this aura? I feel so uncomfortable." Lu Ruashi staggered backward, the veins on her snow-white neck popping out. "Hee, this is the aura of a demon," the iron soulfish said softly. "Demon?" Sui was shocked and frowned. No wonder he didn't feel anything. It was because of the iron soulfish in his body. "Brat, infuse a little bit of demonic aura into Lu Ruashi's body. She will be able to smoothly absorb the energy of heaven and earth." Sui was skeptical. Demonic aura was different from yuan qi light. He only infused a little bit of demonic aura when the iron soulfish berated him. "Would I harm you? Demonic aura is only a type of dark attribute energy. Infusing a little bit of it into your body will do you no harm," the iron soulfish said in a deep voice. Suyi's nose twitched slightly. He followed the iron soulfish's instructions and placed his hands tightly on Lu Ruashi's body. Whoosh! The black energy flowed from his fingertips to Lu Ruashi's snow-white back and immediately rushed into her meridians. Gradually, he could feel the yuan qi energy in Lu Ruashi's body forming an extremely harmonious cycle. It was as if she had opened up a connection with her surroundings. Under the guidance of the tiny bit of demonic aura in Lu Ruashi's body, the boundless energy turned into strands of hair-like energy. The strands of demonic aura lingered on the surface of Lu Ruashi's body before finally entering her body. Lu Ruashi's face became even redder. She opened her eyes and looked at Sui, who was smiling warmly at her. She couldn't help but feel moved. "Sui, I feel much better. What happened just now?" Lu Ruashi's beautiful eyelashes drooped slightly as she looked at the Saint Ruler aura in her hand that resembled golden light particles. "I don't know either, but I don't feel much about this place." Suyi's mouth twitched as he shrugged his shoulders. He sized up the extremely cold environment around him, and a slight breeze blew past his ears. Sui guessed that if it were anyone else who rashly came in, not only would their yuan qi be blocked, but their cultivation would also be lowered, right? Others can't come in at all. If it weren't for you, Lu Ruashi would have to wait for you outside. Seeing that Sui didn't quite understand, the iron soulfish said proudly, "This is the power of the demon race. You'll slowly understand in the future. There won't be anyone from the demon race here, right?" Suyi's mouth twitched. Right now, he and Lu Ruashi couldn't withstand even a little bit of wind and rain. "If there were, I wouldn't have waited for so many years in the Tianyan continent. It's probably the ruins of the demon race. Kid, quickly go in and take a look." "All right." Sui immediately smiled. Since this demonic cave was so sturdy that non-demons couldn't enter, there was nothing for him to worry about. Chapter 1816. "Ruashi, I'll go in and take a look. It's too dangerous inside. You stay here and heal your injuries," Sui said. He quickly turned around and was about to go in when Lu Ruashi called out to him and turned around. Bang! Lu Ruashi opened her arms and hugged Sui tightly. "Sui, thank you." Lu Ruashi's perfect figure was extremely tight, and she looked even more beautiful after recovering her rosy complexion. Ruashi, what are you doing? Su-yi, who was a little out of breath from being hugged, asked with flickering eyes. Don't speak. Listen to me. Lu Ruashi's eyes were bright and her teeth were white. Even in the darkness, one could see that her eyes were glistening with tears. Lu Ruashi's voice was extremely soft as she breathed heavily. Su-yi, this is the first time I've hugged you on my own accord in my life, and it may very well be the last time. Lu Ruashi smiled bitterly as pain flashed through her eyes. She hugged Su-yi even tighter. Ever since that time when I was young, I came to the sacred mountain to cultivate wholeheartedly. I've always wanted to kill you, but when I reached the end of my cultivation, that feeling faded a lot when I saw you again. Lu Ruashi pursed her lips and smiled bitterly, adding a bit of charm to her. From Barbarian City to Nether City, every time I see you, my hatred lessens a bit. The better you treat me, the more I feel like I'm wrong. Su-yi smiled bitterly as he wondered why this little girl was being so pretentious at this time. Looking at Lu Ruashi's clear eyes and crescent brows, Su-yi's heart was filled with pity as he caressed the side of Lu Ruashi's fair face. Fate makes fools of people, Su-yi said faintly. Just like how he had inexplicably transmigrated from Earth, Lu Ruashi had only heard him in his previous life. His hatred for Lu Ruashi had only stopped at the stage of being confused and venting anger for his previous life. Cultivating like a madman in Barbarian Demon Forest was also Su-yi's way of tempering himself. It wasn't until the moment Wang Chuanda pushed him off the cliff that he completely became enemies with the Holy Mountain. If I could go back in time, I definitely wouldn't have done that. After saying this, Lu Ruashi's tears silently flowed down again. On Su-yi's shoulder, Lu Ruashi trembled slightly like a floating duckweed. Su-yi was very clear about this. She is just like me. Although she is a saintess, she has no roots. I've always lived in the eyes of others. Lu Ruashi had shouldered too many things that she shouldn't have. Gently releasing Lu Ruashi, Su-yi held Lu Ruashi's slender shoulders tightly and scratched Lu Ruashi's nose. It's not good for others to see how fragile the saintess is in the eyes of others. Lu Ruashi gently pouted. In front of Su-yi, she had completely let go of her worries. That cold mask of hers had long collapsed in front of the man in front of her. Sighing softly, Lu Ruashi pursed her lips and said, "There are only 3 days left. Once we get out, we'll have to serve our own masters. I only hope that you can understand my thoughts." Su-yi looked deeply at the slightly depressed Lu Ruashi in front of him and smiled slightly. "No one can take away what I've decided on. However, 3 days is enough." Su-yi pretended to undress. "What 3 days?" Lu Ruashi looked at Su-yi's actions and quickly covered her eyes. She softly shouted, "What are you doing? Quickly put it on." Su-yi scratched his head and laughed maniacally. "Ah? Did I misunderstand?" Then, he put his hands on his waist and laughed maniacally. Lu Ruashi knew that Su-yi was joking with her again. Immediately, a trace of anger gushed out from her watery eyes. "You're lying to me again." After saying that, she also burst out laughing. Her ice diamond-like eyes rippled with lust. Su-yi's gaze fell on Lu Ruashi and nodded. "That's right. Just be yourself in front of me. I'll go in and take a look. You can use this bottle of spiritual liquid to heal your injuries." Lu Ruashi reached out and took Su-yi's elixir bottle. Vast and mighty energy of heaven and earth flowed out from the bottle cap. The rich energy instantly formed a whirlpool around Lu Ruashi and finally surged into her body. The golden-yellow protective true energy instantly increased by a few notches. The originally illusory halo of light became much more condensed. "Use it. Please don't let me meet you in the second round. I'll have a headache if the husband and wife fight." Su-yi knocked his head and tilted his head to Lu Ruashi's side. He quickly kissed Lu Ruashi's cheek. Immediately, Lu Ruashi's slender fingers grasped the elixir bottle even tighter. A blush quickly spread to her neck. Whoosh! Without waiting for Lu Ruashi to react, Su-yi turned into a ball of fire and went into the depths, leaving Lu Ruashi in a daze. Looking at the glowing bottle of spirit liquid in her hand, Lu Ruashi naturally knew how precious this spirit liquid was. Is this the secret to his rapid growth? He actually gave it to me. In an instant, Lu Ruashi's lips curled into a smile. She sat down cross-legged and closed her slender eyes. She consumed the spiritual liquid and quietly waited for Su-yi's return. Su-yi, no matter what, I won't let anything happen to you. In the gloomy and dry atmosphere, a light voice drifted into the endless darkness. Compared to the caves of the barbaric beasts in the center of the Great Demon Mountain Range, Su-yi could clearly feel that there wasn't any wild smell here. The air here was incomparably dry. The sand and walls were 100 times drier than the sand in the desert. With the demonic aura of the iron soulfish surrounding him, Su-yi felt like a fish in water. Even his vision was as convenient as seeing in the daytime after he adapted to it. What kind of demonic item could there be in here? Could the phenomenon of the demon-subduing sect be referring to this? Su-yi became anxious and increased his speed. In order to verify his thoughts, Su-yi's curiosity was completely piqued. The air around him became extremely dry. The pitch-black energy that blotted out the sky and covered the earth quickly surrounded him. Raising his eyes, Su-yi shouted. Holding the starry terror in his hand, he quickly broke through the heavy ink-colored space. In the blink of an eye, Su-yi had covered a distance of several thousand meters. As it turned out, the demonic cave was extremely vast. It wasn't the slightest bit smaller than the outside of the illusory demon cave. This place was like an underground maze. A black aura fluctuated in the space, filling the void and dusk. Finally, Su-yi could feel a slight fluctuation in the darkness in the distance. There's someone over there, the iron soulfish whispered. That's right. Could it be someone from the demonic race? All of a sudden, Su-yi's heart rushed to his chest. If he encountered a demonic race, his cultivation was definitely not enough. Su-yi faintly felt danger. Let's go directly. Your cloud shadow treading technique is useless here. The iron soulfish whispered. Although this place definitely had something to do with him, Su-yi also felt that it was too dangerous to let him enter so early. Chapter 1817. Su-yi. A hoarse roar came from afar, and the air within the cavern was suddenly suffused with a gloomy aura. This voice. Su-yi only felt that this voice was somewhat familiar, and his mind spied on it with all his might. At the same time, he tightened his grip on the heavenly star of terror behind his back. It's Yunlingfeng. A wild roar suddenly erupted from the black fog. A tearing sound came from Yunlingfeng's throat, and Su-yi's gaze trembled as he gradually saw the newcomer's face. Yunlingfeng, who flew out from the darkness, had eyes full of anger, and his pupils filled with black light were incomparably strange. His withered face and scarlet eyes made him look like a ghost that had crawled out from the ground, and his entire body emitted a valiant and terrifying murderous aura. Faintly combined with the ominous glint in his eyes, the monstrous baleful aura made people who saw him feel an indescribable terror, as if he was even more terrifying than a malicious ghost. Why can you come in? Yunlingfeng spread out his hands, and a wave of cold energy surged out. Yunlingfeng seemed to feel an extremely shocking feeling towards Su-yi being able to enter the demon territory. Sizing up Su-yi, Yunlingfeng's gaze was sinister. If even you can come in, why can't I? Su-yi laughed softly, and his right hand behind his back clenched the heavenly star of terror, ready to attack at any time. The demonic aura on this brat's body is very strong. Su-yi, be careful. The iron soulfish reminded in a low voice. Suddenly, Yunlingfeng floated in the air, and his loose white robe was completely dyed black as he angrily said, Su-yi, you must die today. Although he was somewhat afraid of Su-yi, Yun Lingfeng was still confident that Su Yi would definitely not be able to defeat him in this place where strength was suppressed. As soon as he finished speaking, the elemental Yuan Qi in Yun Lingfeng's hand pierced through space and shot towards Su Yi. His body charged towards Su Yi, the murderous intent in his eyes overflowing. "Humph, loser!" Su Yi tilted his head and dodged the attack. The flaming wings on his back flapped, and he shook his shoulders. The fierce wind sent Yun Lingfeng's body flying. The astonished Yun Lingfeng steadied himself and rotated his wrist. "I didn't want to use the demonic sword Wei, but you humiliated me again and again. Su Yi, do you really think you can beat me?" At this moment, the Crimson Dragon appeared in Yun Lingfeng's hand again, and a monstrous and intimidating aura swept over like a torrential demonic aura. It rushed straight into Su Yi's body and into Su Yi's mind. "Divine weapon Crimson Dragon!" Su Yi exclaimed in his heart. In an instant, Su Yi saw the bloody scene of starving people and corpses floating for thousands of miles. The entire demonic race's cave seemed to have collapsed, and it was extremely horrifying. Coupled with the fact that this place was filled with the demonic race's energy, the killing intent of the entire heaven and earth was in an explosive state. The pervasive demonic aura rapidly enveloped Su Yi's body like a tide, as if it was going to destroy all life in the world. Buzz buzz. The stable heaven origin demon soul in Su Yi's body seemed to have felt an extreme tremor, and the corrosion of the demonic aura made Su Yi's heart tremble violently. It was because of this sword that he had tasted death for the first time. "You are really lucky. This time, you won't have the chance again. Trash, only death awaits him forever." Yun Lingfeng roared. "Art of driving the heavens!" Su Yi secretly circulated the art of driving the heavens, but he realized that after circulating the art of driving the heavens, the demonic aura wasn't under his soul spirit's control. The monstrous and terrifying aura entered his body like mud flowing into the sea, and he couldn't find the direction. Boom! Pale with fright, Su Yi quickly retreated, and a terrifying thought flashed through his mind. At the same time, the mysterious ball of light in his mind trembled again. In an instant, a blazing and boundless aura erupted, and light soared into the sky. Su Yi's mind was filled with a sky full of light. As he retreated, Su Yi quickly felt his soul spirit and meridians relax. The demonic aura that had entered his body was quickly expelled by the mysterious space's aura. The demonic aura carried a clear fear of the mysterious power, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. "Brat, your strength is indeed able to resist the demonic aura of my race." The Iron Soulfish had already noticed this when he first fought with Su Yi. At close range, he discovered that Su Yi's mysterious ball of light was able to disperse the demonic aura, and couldn't help but be shocked. Far away from the mysterious space, the power that surged out could not only deter the demonic beasts, but also the demonic aura. Before he could answer, Su Yi quickly turned around, and a whooshing sound came from behind him. Su Yi's body surged with a huge milky white force. It was released along the tip of the heavenly star shock, and resisted Yun Lingfeng's demonic sword aura. Bang! When they collided, the entire vast demonic world emitted extremely terrifying spatial fluctuations. But at the same time, it quickly turned into air and disappeared in the space, leaving only a faint ripple in the air. "You think you can take the second sword just because you can take the next one? If I can kill you once, I can kill you a second time." Chi. Yun Lingfeng changed his posture in the air and attacked again. Holding the divine weapon, he directly rushed forward. At this moment, his figure turned into black lightning and rushed to the front of Su Yi in the blink of an eye. One sword turned into 10 swords, and the pitch-black sword aura spread around his body. Su Yi's eyes were filled with shock. Yun Lingfeng's cultivation had already reached the 4th level of the Origin Sovereign Realm, and the demonic aura had caused his cultivation to soar rapidly. As the killing intent surged, the divine weapon Crimson Dragon, had already arrived at the top of his head. Qi-La, the speed was still as fast as before. The demon god battle armor and the Yuan Qi light shield in front of Su-Yi rose rapidly at the same time, and faint dragon patterns spread out around Su-Yi's body. The killing intent in Yunling Feng, who was about to succeed, expanded infinitely. His blood-red eyes and the aura on his body suddenly soared several times. Suddenly, there was a sound of metal clashing. Sparks flew above the void as the divine weapon Crimson Dragon and the heavenly star Soul-Stirring clashed rapidly. Boundless wind and waves suddenly blew violently. The mysterious energy in Su-Yi's mind flowed along the star patterns of the heavenly star Soul-Stirring. The saber radiance rushed out and deflected Yunling Feng's Crimson Dragon Devil Sword. Clang clang! The dragon roar of the saber and sword was deafening. The terrifying energy hurricane in front also flung Yunling Feng's figure far away. Qi. After sliding on the ground for a few meters, Su-Yi supported himself on the ground and stopped. The tip of the heavenly star Soul-Stirring saber spun, and the void revolved. It crazily absorbed Yunling Feng's Crimson Dragon Devil Qi, as though it was purifying the divine weapon. The old ancestor had once left a message in the Divine Sword Valley. The heavenly star Soul-Stirring saber was specially born to subdue the Crimson Dragon. Su-Yi quickly swallowed a small half of the spiritual liquid and calmed down the blood in his heart. He rushed to Yunling Feng's side in a stride. With a sweep of his leg, he quickly kicked a huge rock on Yunling Feng's body. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 1818. You're really a disgrace to Xinjian Gate. I'm taking back this sword under the orders of the ancestor. Go down and give your life to Xinjian Gate for your sins. Su-Yi's body was shrouded in light. The devil Qi here was dense. Even with the iron soulfish's protection, he didn't know what dangers awaited him. It was better to end this quickly. Don't even think about it. Su-Yi, you can't kill me. A mournful laugh came out of Yunling Feng's throat. Under the huge rock, Yunling Feng's eyes were red as blood. A mouthful of blood flowed down his pale face. Clang, the rock shook, and a hazy change began to appear in the void. Under the ripples, Yunling Feng was like a wisp of light black gas escaping. The distorted space took shape again. In an instant, a terrifying aura began to pass through Su-Yi's body and floated toward the red dragon. As soon as it came into contact with the red dragon, a terrifying scream came from the black fog. A whirlwind blew, and the black gas disappeared into the ground without a trace. Buzz buzz! The heavenly star Astonishing Soul stopped absorbing the devil Qi and stopped spinning. The brilliant light around it quickly dimmed. The heavenly star Astonishing Soul returned to Su-Yi's hand and became smaller until it disappeared without a trace. This guy got away again, Su-Yi shouted in his heart. Then, he looked at the place where Yunling Feng disappeared. There was a crack that looked like a baby's arm spreading along the mountain. When Su-Yi came in, he found that the walls here had become extremely dry and hard after being weathered by the devil Qi for many years. He didn't expect that Yunling Feng would break open such a hard surface in order to escape. If he had used this desperate move on him, he would have been doomed. The Devil Sword Qi is really terrifying. Su-Yi squinted his eyes and said to the iron soulfish in his body, I don't know what benefits that brat got in here. The next time you meet him, you really have to be more careful. Su-Yi nodded heavily. Looking at the extremely dense and terrifying black fog around him, he couldn't help but shudder in his heart. At the same time, Su-Yi also had a new understanding of his mysterious space. This mysterious light seemed to be the natural nemesis of demon beasts and demons. No longer thinking about it, Su-Yi sat down cross-legged. The injury on his chest had worsened because of Yunling Feng's attack. After swallowing the spiritual liquid, Su-Yi slowly closed his eyes and operated the Origin Supreme technique. Milky white light filled his body, and he gradually entered a state of deep healing. About 2 hours later, Su-yi opened his eyes again and stood up. His eyes were shining brightly. Let's go and see what's left inside. Su-yi's fiery wings flapped again in the air. After flying for more than half a day in the cave, he still didn't find anything. This place is too big. I keep feeling like there's a huge monster passing by me, but I can't see it. Su-yi was puzzled. Looking at the demonic aura around him, Su-yi gradually frowned. Your cultivation isn't there yet. I told you about the demon drawing secret technique last time. If you cultivate it, you might be able to see it. The iron soulfish in Su-yi's body, which had grown up with Su-yi, also had a helpless expression. Soon after, Su-yi shook his head and decided to go out for the time being. Both he and Lu Ruoshi had finished recuperating. Encountering Yunling Feng was just a small disturbance. He hadn't found the anomaly in the demonic illusion cave yet, so he didn't have much time left. This is the last bit of time. Let's get some points and find the anomaly first. Su-yi nodded and returned to the door to see Lu Ruoshi, who had already recovered. Did you find anything? Lu Ruoshi asked softly, her attitude completely different from before. He pursed his lips and sighed softly. I didn't find anything, but I killed a smelly bug. Then let's go out first. There are only 2 days left. Lu Ruoshi nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Su-yi patted the dust off his shoulder, squatted slightly, and said with a smile, Come on up. Why? Su-yi looked back at Lu Ruoshi and said, You don't have to carry me now that you've recovered? I haven't done enough yet. Lu Ruoshi's cheeks reddened. She patted Su-yi lightly and said with a slightly serious tone, You just can't change your habit of putting oil on your mouth. It's your character that's causing everyone to misunderstand you. Su-yi shrugged indifferently and said in a low voice, It doesn't matter if people like Yuchi Changfeng misunderstand me. As he spoke, Su-yi asked Lu Ruoshi to take out the note that he had left behind. Then, Su-yi tore the note into shreds. He looked at the shreds of paper dancing in the air, and said with a faint smile, It's fine if you don't want to carry me. Anyway, there will be a day when I will personally carry you. Did you come to the sacred mountain to carry me? Lu Ruoshi asked with a tilted head. Of course. How about I carry you home, wife? Send Grandpa and the others back to the barbarian city. Let's have 1 or 2 more children. Su-yi laughed. Lu Ruoshi lightly stomped on the ground. Her brows furrowed slightly, but they soon separated. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. The two looked at each other and smiled. Then, they quickly walked out of the demon cave. After leaving the demon cave, Su-yi climbed to the top of the cliff and looked at the quiet surroundings. The blood moon hung above his head. He knew that there were only 2 days left. After killing Chijiozhen, his points had increased to 1,300. After asking Lu Ruoshi, Yuchi Changfeng, and Tyrant Si Santong's points, Su-yi found out that the two had 2,100 points, while Tyrant Si Santong had 2,500 points. The gap is still a little big. Su-yi slapped his head. Lu Ruoshi smiled and said softly, They also obtained points from refining monster cores. You didn't. You're stronger than them. My wife's words are so nice. Su-yi smiled. Lu Ruoshi spat again. A trace of shyness flashed through her eyes. At this time, a figure floated over from afar and shouted, Senior brother Su-yi. Su-yi and Lu Ruoshi tapped on the ground at the same time and came to his side like lightning. Su-yi recognized that it was a female disciple of Yutian Palace. Lu Yu, how's Yutian Palace? Su-yi asked softly. Senior brother Su-yi, after you left, Tyrant Si Santong sent people to chase after you. Yuchi Changfeng and Shangguan Changfeng went on a killing spree. Fortunately, senior brother Jun Haotian and the others protected us. However, Yutian Palace also suffered many casualties. Su Yi's face turned gloomy. He said coldly, I know. Where are Hao Tian and the others now? With such a reminder, the female disciple's haggard face lit up. She shouted, That's right. Senior Brother Jun told us to look for you. He said that there was a phenomenon. Where? Su Yi and Lu Ruoxi exclaimed at the same time. The female disciple revealed an awkward expression. She looked at Lu Ruoxi hesitantly. Calm. Wonderful book house. Chapter 1819. Miss Ruoxi has gone through life and death with me. She's trustworthy. Speak. The female disciple frowned slightly and nodded. Senior Brother Jun said that we can see a vision from the great monster palace. It disappears every few breaths and has been going on for half a day. Let's go. Let's go back, Sui said quickly. The great monster palace was located in the northeast corner of the Demon Cave secret territory. It was said to be a ruin left behind by the Demon Cave era. It had been devoured by the Demon Cave era. There were many monster cores, immortal herbs, and spirit fruit. There were even armors, treasures, martial skills, and cultivation methods left behind by the demon subduing sect. What made the Demon Cave famous was the vision, but no cultivator had ever found the location of the vision. It was said that the essence of the entire Demon Cave was inside, and the treasures left behind were the best in the entire Demon Cave and the Great Monster Mountain Range. After following the Jutian Palace disciple back to the Great Monster Palace, Su Yi roughly sized it up. Half of the disciples here had disappeared, and he suddenly felt a pain in his heart. Luoyu, go rest. Su Yi patted Luoyu's shoulder and comforted her with a smile. Jun Haotian was standing on the ruins of the Great Monster Palace, frowning as he looked at the vision in the sky. When he saw Su Yi, his eyes were full of surprise. Su Yi, you're out. It seems that Beast Ba Hai didn't catch up with you. How fortunate! Jun Haotian let out a long sigh as a smile appeared on his face. Su Yi's gaze fell on Jun Haotian's haggard face. It was obvious that he had gone through a fierce battle. Su Yi's expression became serious. Su Yi, how did you escape the pursuit of the Tyrant Sea's three senses? Jun Haotian's eyes were full of shock as he looked at Su Yi with lingering fear. Under the pursuit of the three senses, Jun Haotian found it hard to imagine that he could safely escape with Lu Ruoxi. Su Yi smiled faintly and told Jun Haotian that he had entered a nameless cave and concealed his aura before returning. I heard that Yutian Palace has found an anomaly? The corner of Su Yi's eyes twitched as he looked at the blood moon in the sky. Lu Ruoxi followed closely behind Su Yi. Jun Haotian glanced at Lu Ruoxi from the corner of his eyes. Lu Ruoxi had sacrificed herself several times to save Su Yi and had left a good impression on him. Then, he nodded and said, Yes. Previously, I had been exploring the Great Demon Palace. When I heard that something had happened to you, I came out. When I returned here to recuperate, I faintly discovered that under the reflection of the Great Demon Palace's mirror light, I could see a vision. Only then did Su Yi turn his head to size up the entire Great Demon's remnant palace. Its entire body was made of resplendent crimson jade. The blood-red moonlight shone down, reflecting a dazzling brilliance in everyone's eyes. The light from each of the huge glazed tiles converged into a spot of light, and the direction of the refraction happened to be a certain spot in the sky. After taking a closer look, Su Yi could not help but exclaim. This illusory demon cave was indeed very strange. Upon closer look, he could see a small spire emerging from the dark clouds, staring at the blood moon's light. It was one with the spire and exuded a terrifying aura. This is... Lu Ruoxi pointed at the spire in the sky and asked. This should be the illusory demon mirage. Countless cultivators have been searching for the location of this building, but none of them have found it. Jun Haotian stroked the bleeding wound on his shoulder and said to Su Yi, Su Yi, there's not much time left. If you want to search for it, remember to pay attention to the time. The time in the illusory demon cave should be the same as the boundary of the great demon mountain range. Jun Haotian glanced at Lu Ruoxi beside him and whispered, "You must come out within the stipulated time. Otherwise, you will never be able to get out. The spatial laws inside will readjust after it closes, and all living beings will be crushed into pieces." Su-yi looked at the spire, and his heart was suddenly filled with endless reverie and longing. He turned his head and asked, "Aren't you going to look for the phenomenon?" Jun Haotian smiled bitterly and pointed at the people from the heavenly palace who were recuperating. He said, "There's not much time left. Protect them and get them out safely. Only then will there be hope for the heavenly wind-ranking battle." Immediately, Su-yi's eyes turned ashen. All of this was the doing of those three people. He unconsciously clenched his fists again, and anger overflowed. "Ruoxi, are you going to meet up with the people from the Holy Mountain, or are you going to look for the phenomenon with me?" Lu Ruoxi quickly turned her mind and looked at the Heavenly Palace disciple with a solemn expression. She said in a deep voice, "I'll go with you." "All right." Then, Jun Haotian pulled Su-yi to the side and whispered, "According to the information from the Boundless Sect, Tyrant C3 Lynx and the people from the Holy Mountain are still searching for the other great demon branch palaces. You and Miss Lu should go quickly." Su-yi's eyes flashed, and he immediately nodded. Yuan Qi surged under his feet, and he quickly flew toward the phenomenon with Lu Ruoxi. Along the way, after flying for more than half a day, Su-yi still couldn't find the elusive mirage, which was far away in the sky. How can there be no clue at all? The elusive mirage is clearly right in front of us. Lu Ruoxi also followed Su-yi and landed on a flat ground. Her slender fingers wiped away the sweat that had formed due to the loss of her Yuan Qi. Su-yi, who was feeling melancholy, suddenly had an idea. He took out the mysterious treasure chest that hadn't responded all this time and flew for a while with the treasure chest in his hand. After half a day, when they were extremely far away from the entrance of the illusory demon cave, the mysterious treasure chest suddenly emitted an astonishing aura and flew toward the horizon. "After it!" Su-yi shouted, and the fiery red wings on his back flapped rapidly. He left behind a stream of light in the sky as he quickly chased after the mysterious treasure chest. It must have sensed the location of the phenomenon. Su-yi was pleasantly surprised. The closer they got to the border of the illusory demon cave, the more ancient the aura of the mysterious treasure chest spread out. As the stream of light flashed, strange patterns appeared, and a thick aura was drawn out. As expected, Su-yi exclaimed in his heart. The treasure chest was definitely leading him to the location of the illusory demon mirage. "Ruoxi, let's go." Without hesitation, he swallowed an elixir and shouted in his heart. He sped up and decided to follow the guidance of the treasure chest's aura. As the two of them flew in the sky, Su-yi's consciousness constantly followed the path of the treasure chest. Following the guidance, Su-yi traveled all the way, passing through countless ruins and graveyards. The two of them landed on a cracked boulder. At this time, the blood moon in front of them had become extremely large. From afar, the two of them looked like two small ants. Thick fog lingered around them. Within the white fog, Su-yi and Lu Ruoxi could vaguely see an incomparably huge building. The spire of the tower that they had seen in the great demon palace was extremely huge, to the extent that it shocked the two of them. Wonderful book house. Chapter 1820. This is the illusory demonic mirage. Su-yi muttered to himself for a while before the mysterious treasure chest returned to his hands. The ancient providence had completely disappeared. Let's go in. Although the aura here isn't as oppressive as the demon race's cave, it still has a sense of danger. Lu Ruoxi's bright eyes were filled with vigilance as she stared ahead. Su Yi's eyes were also solemn as he carefully probed the surroundings with his consciousness. He suddenly turned back. You've hidden successfully. I've finally followed you all here. Those two idiots are still in the Great Demon Palace. In the end, I, Shangguan Shenjua, found the mirage. As soon as he finished speaking, a spatial ripple appeared behind him. A transparent shirt seemed to have been taken off, and a white stream of light instantly pierced through the space. Shangguan Shenjua walked out with a folding fan in his hand. As the folding fan made a sound, a phantom in white armor gradually materialized. It's you again. Lu Ruashi clenched her dual sabers tightly as she aimed the golden sword light at Shangguan Shenjua. Her eyes were filled with solemnity. Boom! With a flash of the golden blade, a crack appeared in front of Shangguan Shenjua, extending to the front of him. Roar! Behind him, the white tiger shadow roared. A ferocious beast roar rang out and rushed out. The blade was instantly swept away by the wind. Shangguan Shenjua fanned himself with his folding fan and smiled. He didn't seem to realize what had just happened. When did you follow us? Lu Ruashi whispered softly. Su Yi looked at Shangguan Shenjua with interest as he recalled the journey here. He had been sensing something with his soul spirit, but in order to catch up with the mysterious treasure chest, he didn't pay much attention to it. It turned out that Shangguan Shenjua had been following them. The blood moon hung in the sky as the stench of blood filled the air. As the three of them confronted each other, Shangguan Shenjua's eyes flashed coldly as he whispered, "If you know what's good for you, hand over the treasure chest. I have enough points. Hand it to me and I'll let you all live." Hearing this, Su Yi was delighted as he instantly covered his chest with his hands. Without dominating Si Santong and Yuchi Changfeng, Shangguan Shenjua's 6th-level Origin Emperor Realm cultivation was more than enough to deal with his 2nd-level Origin Emperor Realm and Lu Ruashi's 1st-level Origin Emperor Realm cultivation. Lu Ruashi's crescent brows furrowed as a trace of hesitation flashed across her cold face. "You want it? I'll give it to you then," Su Yi shouted. Su Yi quickly held Lu Ruashi's hand. Immediately, a slender, snow-white silky feeling caused Su Yi's heart to sway slightly. "Go!" With a shout, Su Yi tossed out a 3-inch square box from his interspatial bag. Under the blood-red sky, a black object flashed through the air and charged straight at Shangguan Shenjua. Shangguan Shenjua's eyes lit up when he saw a huge box flying toward him. His body moved like lightning as he bent his fingers into a claw and grabbed the box. However, he discovered that the entire box was empty, and there was no reaction from it at all. When he opened it, it turned out to be empty. When he looked up again, Su Yi and Lu Ruashi had already disappeared into the white mist. A biting cold wind blew past, and Shangguan Shenjua's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. A gust of primordial chi surged up and blew the wooden box into dust. "Su Yi, you bastard! I want you to die a horrible death!" Shangguan Shenjua's angry roar resounded through the clouds. Swoosh! In the sky, Shangguan Shenjua turned into a long streak of lightning as he charged into the mist. Within the mist, a turbid aura filled the air. Compared to the outside of the illusory demon cave, this place was even more mysterious and gloomy. Everything was hazy. After walking for about half a breath, Lu Ruashi was still tightly held by Su Yi. Looking at the man in front of her, who was extremely serious, Lu Ruashi smiled faintly. She took small steps forward and unconsciously clenched her slender hands even tighter. Looking around, Su Yi was surrounded by mist. Puzzled, he took out the mysterious treasure box again. At this time, the mysterious treasure box had already lost any reaction. Following which, Su Yi tried to inject his primordial chi into the treasure box. The strange and peculiar patterns immediately reacted and then disappeared. The mist here is very good at isolating one's aura. I can't even find the direction of the mysterious treasure box. Su Yi's expression turned ugly as he looked at the flat hills covered by the mist. His mind started to pry into the surroundings again. In the distance, the sound of wind breaking could be heard. Shangguan Shinjua's shouts were constantly reverberating in the air, making Su-yi even more anxious. We've already come this far. Brat, you have to stay calm. Don't panic. The iron soulfish shouted anxiously. Su-yi let out a long breath as thoughts ran through his mind. He closed his eyes and touched the mysterious treasure box with both hands. This box was left behind by an expert from the demon subduing sect. It must have something to do with demonic qi. The demon subduing sect's priority was to restrain demonic qi. Perhaps he could give the Origin Supreme technique, which could restrain demonic qi, a try. Whoosh! With his eyes wide open, Su-yi's face was filled with shock. He raised his head and looked at the blood-red moon in the sky. There was no day or night. Su-yi muttered in his heart as he circulated the Origin Supreme technique. A strong gust of wind lingered around his body. The milky white divine aura traveled freely along the meridians of the divine profound spirituality meridians before finally gathering on Su-yi's palms. With a flash of light, the treasure box shrouded in primordial qi immediately shone resplendently. It instantly soared into the sky and flew towards the depths of the mist. "Over there!" Su-yi exclaimed. His eyes were filled with joy as he looked at the shocked Lu Ruashi. With a flash, he quickly followed the mysterious treasure box. Carefully observing the surroundings, Su-yi quickly deployed the demonic god battlesuit, just in case. Finally, the two of them flew for a distance. Under the guidance of the treasure box, Su-yi and Lu Ruashi passed through a mirror-like barrier. The surrounding space rippled rapidly and was pushed away from the two of them. The sight before the two of them quickly lit up. The silver moon hung high in the sky, and the stars shone brightly. The entire space gave off a spacious and unparalleled feeling. The surroundings were spacious, and there was not a speck of dust. At a glance, it was all flat ground. The snow-white jade stones were connected to an extremely long flight of stairs. The flight of stairs was connected to the sky. Looking up, an incomparably huge building appeared before their eyes. It was exactly the same as the image Su-yi saw on the glazed tiles of the Great Fiend Palace. "We're finally here." Lu Ruashi's eyes were trembling. Her rosy little mouth was wide open, unwilling to close. Similarly, Su-yi was also very shocked. After looking around, Su-yi felt that there was nothing special about the surroundings other than the floating building. Immediately, he circulated his primordial qi, and the fire-attributed whirlpool under his feet flew up. He quickly flew towards the Jade Tower. Two rays of light, one red and one gold, streaked across the sky. The huge flight of stairs gave off a majestic feeling of oppression. It was as if an extremely powerful and dangerous object was constantly suppressing them. After walking for a short distance, Su-yi and Lu Ruashi suddenly realized that there was a small black dot behind them that was rapidly approaching them. "Damn it, it's really fast!" Su-yi cursed inwardly. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.